When I got my dream job, my husband's family was furious. His mom said, "A good wife stays home. Quit before you embarrass us." Ryan agreed. It's what's best for the family. That night, I made up my mind. The next morning, I was gone, and so was something they wanted back. Let me explain. My name is Laura. I've been married to Ryan for 6 years. We lived in a small town in Texas where his family was rich and well known. Ryan's mom, Diane, controlled everything. His dad, William, barely spoke, and Ryan was their golden child. I was the wife who never quite fit in. I should have seen it coming. From the start, they made it clear. A wife stays home. A wife focuses on family. A wife knows her place. For years, I played along. I worked part-time and did everything expected of me: cooking, cleaning, hosting family gatherings. I stayed quiet when Ryan's dad made comments about women ruining marriages, or when Diane said, "A woman with a career has no time for her husband." But I had my own dreams. Before meeting Ryan, I worked hard for a degree in business and technology. I never wanted to just be a stay-at-home wife. Then, out of nowhere, I got a job offer from a tech company in Austin. It was everything I'd worked for. I thought Ryan would be happy for me, but he didn't get it. "You don't need to work," he said. "My salary is enough." I explained it wasn't about money, it was about having something of my own. But he didn't understand, or worse, he didn't care. Later that evening, his whole family came over. Suddenly, it wasn't just Ryan against me, it was all of them. Diane said, "A wife should never put herself before her husband." I tried to speak, but she cut me off. "This job would be a disgrace. People will think Ryan isn't providing for you." William nodded, agreeing. Ryan just sat there, arms crossed, not saying anything. That's when I realized it wasn't about the job. It was about control. They didn't want me to be independent. They wanted me to stay silent, obedient, and grateful. Diane said again, "A good wife stays home. Quit before you embarrass us." Ryan finally spoke. It's what's best for the family. That night, I decided I was done. I had always compromised for them, but no more. I wasn't just leaving. I was taking something they wanted back. I went to the filing cabinet and pulled out a folder. It was the deed to Ryan's grandfather's lake house. Before we got married, Ryan's grandfather left the house to me. His family had spent years pressuring me to sign it over, but it was mine, and now it was my backup plan. By morning, I was gone. I packed my bag, grabbed the deed, and drove to Austin. I didn't leave a note. The call started before noon. Ryan was the first, followed by Diane, then Ryan's sister. When I answered, Ryan shouted, "You can't do this." "I didn't do anything," I said. "I just took what was mine." His mom called next, demanding I return the deed. I refused. They tried threats, guilt, and lawyers, but I already had my own lawyer. They had no case. Then Ryan did the one thing I didn't expect. He showed up at my new apartment. He walked in and looked around, clearly upset. "We need to talk," he said. I asked, "What's the point?" He sighed. "I get it. You needed to prove something. Fine, you did. Now come home." I stared at him. Home. He was still clueless. He didn't get that I wasn't proving anything. I was freeing myself. I handed him a thick envelope. Inside were the papers for the sale of the lake house. "What is this?" Ryan asked, shocked. "It's done," I said simply. Ryan's face went white. "You sold it." "Yes." He was furious. "You had no right." I laughed. "No right? Like how I had no right to make my own choices." Ryan was angry, but he had no words. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You thought I'd stay forever, give up everything like your mom did. But I remember now." Ryan stormed out. I thought that would be it, but I was wrong. The next day, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and messages. Ryan's family was furious, calling me selfish and ungrateful. Some even accused me of being a gold digger. I wasn't surprised. His family had always controlled the town. They tried to make me the villain, but I wasn't backing down. Then, I got a lawsuit. They were trying to claim I had stolen the lake house. But I knew they had no case. The will was clear, and I had my lawyer. Ryan texted me, "Give back the house, and this all goes away." I stared at the message. They still thought I would bend. They forgot one thing. I had spent 6 years surviving them, and now it was my turn to fight. A few days later, I got a call from the lawyer who handled Ryan's grandfather's will. "I heard about what they're trying to pull," he said. "Let me help." I was confused. "Why?" "Because your husband's grandfather wanted you to have a way out," the lawyer explained. "He didn't want you to be trapped." I swallowed hard, feeling tightness in my throat. For the first time in weeks, tears burned my eyes, not because I was sad, but because for the first time in years, someone really saw me. With his help, we filed a countersuit for harassment and defamation. We also sent legal warnings to everyone who had slandered me online. Things changed fast. The Facebook posts disappeared. The nasty messages stopped, and then the final blow. Ryan's parents had to drop the lawsuit because their businesses weren't as successful as they claimed. The legal costs were draining them, and their fight ended quietly. But I wasn't done. I still had one last move to make. Ryan's family was in trouble, and I knew it. The lawsuit had backfired, the lake house money was safe, and now their reputation was falling apart. They weren't in control anymore, but I still wasn't going to let them recover. They had pushed me too far. One night, while going through old emails, I found a message from Ryan's grandfather that stopped me in my tracks. It was from years ago, before he passed away. I had almost forgotten about it, but now it stood out like a flashing sign. "If anything happens to me, check the safe in my study. The combination is April 18th, 62. My heart skipped a beat. Ryan's grandfather had trusted me with a safe code, and I knew exactly where it was. When I last visited the lake house, I saw it hidden behind a bookshelf. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but now I was very interested in what he had left behind. I drove to the lake house at 2 a.m. It was still technically mine. The sale wasn't finished, but I wasn't taking any chances. I parked down the road, walked through the trees, and sneaked in through the back door. The house was dark and untouched. I moved quickly, heading straight to the study. My hands shook as I moved the bookshelf aside to reveal the safe. I punched in the combination, April 18th, 62. The safe clicked open. Inside were stacks of folders. When I pulled one out and opened it, I gasped. They were bank records, but not just any records. Illegal transactions, all linked to Ryan's father. Ryan's family had always boasted about their successful businesses, but these papers told a very different story. There were fake invoices, offshore accounts, and shell companies used to launder money. It was fraud, huge fraud. If this got out, Ryan's father would go to prison. And now I had everything. Their empire wasn't just crumbling. It was rotting from the inside, and I was about to set it on fire. I made copies of everything and emailed them to an investigative journalist. No explanation, no warning, just the documents. 2 weeks later, the story broke. The headline: Prominent local businessman under federal investigation for financial crimes. Ryan's father was finished. His businesses shut down. His house was foreclosed. The same people who once admired him now turned their backs. And Ryan, for the first time in his life, wasn't the golden boy anymore. I knew he would come back, and sure enough, a week after the story hit, he showed up at my apartment. But this time, he looked different. Not angry, just lost. "You did this," he said quietly. I didn't answer. I just watched him. He ran a hand through his messy hair. "You destroyed my family." I tilted my head. "No, Ryan, your family destroyed themselves. I just stopped protecting them." He swallowed hard. For the first time, I think he actually saw me, not as his wife, but as the woman who had outsmarted him. Then he said something I never thought I'd hear from him. I was wrong. But it was too late for that. I stepped back and looked at him one last time. "Yeah, you were." Then I shut the door and never looked back. That should have been the end of it. I had won. His father was facing charges, his family was financially ruined, and their reputation was shattered. But people like Ryan don't disappear easily, and I should have known he wouldn't go down quietly. 2 weeks later, I got a message from Diane, a simple text. "We need to talk. Family dinner Saturday. Be there." It was like nothing had happened, like I was still part of their family. I almost laughed. After everything, they thought I'd show up like nothing had changed. But something told me this wasn't an invitation. It was a trap. That Saturday, I drove to their house. The mansion they used to brag about, now abandoned. The lawn was overgrown, the shutters were peeling, and only one old sedan sat in the driveway. They had lost everything, and I wasn't sorry. I stepped inside. Ryan was by the fireplace, his sister was on the couch, and at the head of the table sat Diane. She gestured for me to sit. Sit. I didn't. I crossed my arms and leaned against the wall. I assume this isn't a family reunion. Diane exhaled sharply, her fingers tapping the wine glass. You went too far. I smiled. Did I? You destroyed us, Ryan's sister cried. You sold Grandpa's house. You ruined our business. You. I exposed the truth. I cut in. That wasn't my fault. That was your father's crimes finally catching up to him. Diane slammed her glass down. You didn't have to involve the press. I laughed coldly. What did you want me to do? Stay quiet? Let you drag me through the mud while playing the victims? Ryan finally spoke, his voice low. We could have fixed this. I turned to him. Fixed what? Your father's fraud? Your mother's manipulation? Or did you just want me to come crawling back like always? His fists clenched. You didn't have to burn it all down. The room went silent. Then I said, maybe I did. Diane's jaw tightened. If you have any decency, return the money from the house sale. It was meant to stay in the family. I felt cold. She was still trying to control me. Even now, when everything had fallen apart, she still acted like I owed them something. I took a slow breath and said, what family? Diane blinked. I gestured around. Look at you. You turned on me the second I did something for myself. You never saw me as part of this family. You just wanted me under your control. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't finished. And the best part, I leaned in, my voice soft but sharp. Your husband is going to prison, and you won't have a single dollar to your name. Diane turned pale. Ryan's sister gasped. And Ryan, he wasn't angry or in denial. He was scared. He finally realized what I had known all along. There was no coming back from this. I reached for the door. Ryan spoke again. Laura. I hesitated. His voice was different. Raw, not angry, just lost. I loved you, he said quietly. For a moment, I believed him. But love isn't control. Love isn't ownership. Love isn't making someone feel small. I nodded once. Maybe you did. Then I walked out the door, and for the first time in years, I felt free. A month later, Ryan's father was arrested. The trial was brutal, and he took a plea deal to avoid a longer sentence. Diane tried to keep up appearances, but without her husband's money and power, she faded into obscurity. Ryan's sister moved away, and Ryan. I heard he tried to rebuild his life, but his name was forever tainted. As for me, I thrived. My career in Austin flourished. I found real friends, people who valued me for who I was, not for what I could sacrifice. And every so often, I thought about that house by the lake, the one they said would never be mine, and I smiled. Because in the end, they tried to erase me, but I was the one who erased them.
I should have known something was wrong the moment my mother-in-law insisted on hosting a special family dinner on a Wednesday night. Valerie never does anything without a reason, and her voice had that sugary sweet tone that always means trouble. I'm Natalia, and I've learned to read between the lines when it comes to family dynamics. After 7 years of being married to Leonard, I thought I'd seen it all. The holiday drama, the passive-aggressive comments about grandchildren, the subtle competition between siblings. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened that night. The dining room was set with Valerie's best china, another red flag. My brother Leonard squeezed my hand under the table, a gesture that would make sense later. His wife, Erin, couldn't stop fidgeting with her napkin, her cheeks flushed pink with excitement. Before we start eating, Valerie announced, beaming at everyone around the table, Erin has some wonderful news to share. I lifted my wine glass, grateful for the Cabernet's familiar comfort. Erin stood up, practically bouncing on her toes. We wanted the family to be the first to know. She paused for dramatic effect. Craig and I are engaged. The wine glass froze halfway to my lips. Craig. My Craig. Well, not mine anymore, but the same Craig who had shared 3 years of my life before disappearing with nothing but a text message and a trail of lies. Isn't it wonderful? Valerie clapped her hands together. Craig is such a catch, so successful, so charming. I forced my face into what I hoped was a convincing smile. How did this happen? My voice sounded strange, even to my own ears. We've been dating for 6 months, Erin gushed. We met at that charity gala. You remember, the one you couldn't attend because you were sick? Oh, I remembered. I'd been sick because Leonard had warned me Craig might be there. Now I understood why. Show us the ring, Valerie demanded, and Erin thrust out her left hand. The diamond caught the light, throwing tiny rainbows across the white tablecloth. It was exactly the kind of ring Craig would choose. Flashy, expensive, designed to impress. Natalia, Leonard whispered. Are you okay? I took a long sip of wine. Of course, why wouldn't I be? Erin was still talking, describing the proposal in detail. And then he got down on one knee right there in the restaurant. Everyone was watching. Just like Craig, I said, my voice dripping with honey. Always knowing how to put on a show. The table went quiet. Erin's smile faltered slightly. What do you mean? She asked. I shrugged, stabbing a piece of roasted potato with my fork. Oh, you know Craig. He has a flair for the dramatic. It's part of his charm. Leonard kicked me under the table, but I ignored him. The thing about karma is that sometimes it needs a little nudge in the right direction. Did you two know each other before? Valerie asked, looking between Erin and me with sudden suspicion. We dated, I said simply, watching Craig's name hover in the air like smoke. A lifetime ago. Erin's face paled. He never mentioned, didn't he? How strange. I took another sip of wine. Pass the salt, please. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of forced conversation and awkward silences. As we gathered our coats to leave, Erin caught my arm. Natalia, I had no idea about you and Craig. If this makes you uncomfortable, don't be silly, I said, patting her hand. The past is the past. I just want you to be happy. But as I walked to my car, my cousin Seth fell into step beside me. You're planning something, he said. It wasn't a question. I don't know what you're talking about. That smile you had during dinner? That's the same smile you had before you put pink hair dye in my shampoo in 10th grade. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Some people never change, Seth, and some lessons need to be learned the hard way. Just be careful, he warned. This isn't like high school pranks. This is family. I watched Erin and Leonard drive away, their taillights disappearing into the darkness. Exactly, I whispered. This is family, and sometimes family needs to be protected from themselves. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Alice. How did it go? I typed back quickly. Remember that karma we've been waiting for? I think it's finally showing up for dinner. He's doing the thing with the phone again, Alice said, sliding into the booth across from me at our usual coffee spot. You know, where he keeps it face down and jumps every time it buzzes? I stirred my latte absently. It had been 2 weeks since the engagement announcement, and I'd been collecting little pieces of information like breadcrumbs. How do you know? I was at the gym yesterday. Saw him with Erin. She kept trying to show him something on her phone, and he practically had a panic attack when she reached for his. Some things never change, I muttered, remembering how Craig used to do the same thing with me. Back then, I'd believed his excuses about work privacy and client confidentiality. Are you sure you want to do this? Alice leaned forward, her face serious. You could just tell Erin everything directly. Show her the old texts, the evidence from when you caught him. I shook my head. She wouldn't believe me. Craig's too good at spinning stories. He'd say I'm bitter, jealous, trying to ruin their happiness. No, she needs to see it for herself. My phone lit up with a text from Erin. Lunch tomorrow? Need your help with wedding stuff. Speaking of seeing things, I showed Alice the message. Looks like my dear sister-in-law wants wedding planning advice. That's awkward. That's perfect, I corrected. Craig always gets sloppy when he feels secure. The more I help with the wedding, the more chances he'll slip up. The next day, I met Erin at an upscale restaurant downtown. She had magazines spread across the table, sticky notes marking various pages. I'm so glad you came, she gushed. Craig says I'm overwhelming him with all the details, but I want everything to be perfect. Of course you do. I picked up a magazine. Oh, look at this venue. It reminds me of that place in the Bahamas Craig always talked about. Erin's fork paused halfway to her mouth. The Bahamas? You know, the resort where he always said he'd propose one day. He never took you there? No. She set down her fork. He proposed at La Maison. Ah. I flipped another page. Well, I suppose his tastes have changed. People do that. Her phone buzzed and Craig's name flashed on the screen. She reached for it, but not before I caught a glimpse of the message preview. Working late tonight, babe. Don't wait up. Everything okay? I asked innocently. Yes, just Craig. He's been working so many late nights lately. Some big project. I nodded sympathetically. Must be the same project that kept him working late 3 years ago. He's very dedicated to his work. Erin's face clouded slightly. What do you mean? Oh, nothing really, just remembering. Hey, have you thought about flowers? But I could see the seed of doubt had been planted. Throughout lunch, Erin checked her phone repeatedly, her responses becoming more distracted. As we were leaving, she suddenly grabbed my arm. Natalia, can I ask you something? About Craig? Of course. When you were together, was he always... did he what? She shook her head. Never mind. I'm being silly. Pre-wedding jitters, I guess. Erin, I said gently, you can always talk to me. About anything. That evening, I received a series of texts from Leonard. What are you doing? Erin's been asking weird questions about Craig. This isn't going to end well, I replied with a single message. Trust me. Just then, my phone lit up with a notification. Someone had tagged Craig in a photo at a bar downtown. Definitely not working late. In the background, a blonde woman was clearly visible, her hand on his arm. I screenshot it before he could untag himself and sent it to Alice. TikTok. Her response came immediately. Holy shit, are you going to show Erin? No need, I typed back. She follows him on social media. She'll see it herself. And when she does, she'll start looking closer. That's how it always starts. I put my phone down and walked to my window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Some people might call what I was doing cruel, but sometimes kindness means letting someone discover the truth on their own. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let karma do its work. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Erin. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow? I need to ask you something important. I smiled as I typed my response. Of course. I'm always here for you. Leonard was waiting at my apartment when I got home from meeting Erin. His expression told me everything I needed to know. She's been crying, he said without preamble. Want to tell me why my wife spent 3 hours going through Craig's old Facebook photos last night? I hung up my coat. Maybe she's making a wedding slideshow. Don't. Leonard ran a hand through his hair. Don't do that thing where you pretend you're not involved. I know you, Nat. You're my sister. Exactly. I'm your sister. So why aren't you more concerned that your wife is marrying someone like Craig? Because it's not my decision to make. He paced my living room. And it's not yours either. I walked to my kitchen, pulling out 2 wine glasses. Did you know he's still seeing Rebecca? Leonard froze. What? Rebecca. The same woman he was seeing behind my back 3 years ago. She was at Murphy's bar last night, hanging all over him while Erin thought he was working late. Shit. Leonard accepted the wine glass I offered. How do you know this? Because some things never change, Len. Same bars, same women, same lies. I pulled out my phone, showing him the tagged photo. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. Does Erin know about Rebecca? She will. Eventually. I took a sip of wine. The question is, are you going to keep protecting Craig, or are you going to protect your wife? Leonard slumped onto my couch. It's not that simple. Actually, it is. Remember when I found out about Craig and Rebecca? Remember how I found out? Because nobody told me. Nobody warned me. I had to walk in on them myself. Nat. No, let me finish. Do you know what that feels like? To realize that everyone knew except you? To feel like the biggest fool in the world because you trusted someone who never deserved it? Leonard stared into his wine glass. Erin asked me about Craig's past relationships today. What did you tell her? I said she should talk to you. I laughed without humor. Coward. What was I supposed to say? Hey, honey, your fiancé is a serial cheater who broke my sister's heart? Yes, exactly that. Our argument was interrupted by my phone buzzing. A text from Erin. Found something weird in Craig's desk. Can you come over? I showed Leonard the message. Still think we should let her figure it out on her own? He stood up, grabbing his keys. I'm coming with you. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in Erin's kitchen. She had a shoebox on the table in front of her. I was looking for a stapler, she said, her voice shaky. But I found this instead. She opened the box, revealing a stack of photos and letters. What are they? Leonard asked, though I already knew. Memories, I said quietly. Craig keeps everything, every relationship, every conquest. It's like his personal trophy box. Erin pulled out a photo. Me and Craig at the beach 3 years ago. Then another. Craig with a red head I didn't recognize. Another with Rebecca. These are all recent, she whispered. Some from just months ago, while we were dating. Leonard reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Did you know? She asked him. About him and Natalia? About all of this? Erin, did you know? The silence was answer enough. Erin stood up abruptly, knocking over her chair. I need some air. I'll go with you, I offered, but she shook her head. No, I need to think. Alone. After she left, Leonard turned to me. Happy now? No, I said honestly. But at least she knows the truth. The truth? He gestured at the scattered photos. The truth is that you orchestrated this whole thing. You knew she'd find this box eventually. I didn't put these photos here, Leonard. I didn't make Craig cheat. I didn't make him lie. All I did was refuse to lie for him. My phone buzzed again. Alice checking in. I typed quickly, box of evidence found, stage 1 complete. What happens now? Leonard asked, staring at the damning collection of Craig's past. I started putting the photos back in the box. Now? Now we wait. Because the thing about truth is, once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. Erin's smart. She'll connect the dots. And Craig? I smiled grimly. Craig's about to learn that karma doesn't forget. It just waits for the right moment. As we left Erin's house, I noticed a familiar car parked down the street. Rebecca's red BMW. Some people really never learn. Valerie's annual summer garden party was in full swing, and I couldn't have planned it better myself. The backyard was filled with family, friends, and most importantly, witnesses. You're looking particularly pleased with yourself, Seth commented, handing me a mojito. Should I be worried? I watched Craig working the crowd, his arm wrapped possessively around Erin's waist. Just enjoying the party. Right. Seth followed my gaze. And the fact that Rebecca RSVP'd has nothing to do with your good mood? Did she? I feigned surprise. How interesting. I wonder if Craig knows his favorite client is coming. Natalia? Seth's warning was cut short by Valerie's excited squeal. Rebecca! Darling, you made it. Craig's head snapped up so fast I thought he might get whiplash. Rebecca stood at the garden entrance, wearing a dress that left little to the imagination. More importantly, she was wearing the necklace, the one Craig had given her last Christmas, thinking I didn't know about it. This should be fun, I murmured, taking a sip of my drink. Erin was already walking over to greet the new arrival, dragging a visibly uncomfortable Craig along. You must be Rebecca. Craig's told me so much about your work together. Rebecca's smile was pure venom wrapped in honey. Has he? How sweet. Though I'm sure he hasn't told you everything. I moved closer, not wanting to miss a word. Craig's face had taken on that slightly green tinge I remembered so well. Babe, he said to Erin, I should check on the grill. But you're not cooking today, Aaron replied, confused. And I want to hear about your work with Rebecca. You never talk about it. Oh, we do much more than work, Rebecca purred, touching the necklace at her throat. Don't we, Craig? Alice appeared at my elbow. Is that the necklace he bought while we were together? The one he said was for his mother? The very same. Erin's eyes locked onto the jewelry. I could almost see the wheels turning in her head, connecting it to the identical necklace box she'd found in Craig's trophy collection. That's a beautiful necklace, she said slowly. Where did you get it? It was a Christmas gift, Rebecca replied, from someone very special. Craig's phone chose that moment to buzz loudly. He fumbled with it, but not before Aaron caught a glimpse of the screen. Why is Rebecca's message showing a heart emoji next to her name? Aaron's voice had gone deadly quiet. The party around us seemed to freeze. Even Valerie stopped mid-conversation to watch the drama unfold. It's not... I can explain, Craig stammered. Explain what? Rebecca's voice carried across the suddenly silent garden. Explain how you've been seeing me for the past year. Explain the weekend in Vegas last month when you said you were at a business conference. Aaron took a step back, then another. Her face had gone completely white. Vegas? She whispered. Last month? Aaron, baby, she's lying. Craig reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't touch me. She yanked off her engagement ring and threw it at his chest. Don't you dare touch me. The ring bounced off his shirt and landed in the grass. Nobody moved to pick it up. Aaron, wait, Craig called as she pushed past him. But she was already running toward the house, Leonard close behind her. Rebecca laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. Oops, was that supposed to be a secret? Craig rounded on her. You crazy bitch. What are you doing here? I was invited, she said sweetly, waving the invitation I'd sent her last week. Unlike your other girlfriends. How many are we up to now, Craig? The party erupted into chaos. Valerie was crying. Seth was holding back an enraged Leonard who'd returned from comforting Aaron, and Craig was staring directly at me. You, he snarled. You did this. I raised my glass in a mock toast. I just sent an invitation, Craig. You did everything else yourself. He started toward me, but Alice stepped between us. I wouldn't, she warned, unless you want everyone to see the rest of the evidence we have. Craig's face contorted with rage, but he knew he was beaten. Without another word, he stormed out of the party, leaving his reputation, his fiancée, and his carefully constructed lies behind. Well, Seth said into the awkward silence, I guess the engagement party is canceled. I finished my mojito and set down the glass. I should go check on Aaron. Natalia, Seth caught my arm. Remind me never to get on your bad side. I smiled. Oh, this isn't my bad side. This is just karma doing its job, with a little help from its friends. I found Aaron in Valerie's home office, hunched over a laptop with tears streaming down her face. I was so stupid, she said without looking up. So incredibly stupid. The screen showed Craig's Facebook messages dating back months. He hadn't even bothered to delete them. You weren't stupid, I said, sitting beside her. He's just very good at lying. Look at this. She clicked through message after message. Rebecca, Sarah, Amanda. Names and conversations scrolled by, each more damning than the last. He was messaging them all while sitting next to me on the couch. While planning our wedding, her phone buzzed again. Craig's 20th attempt to call in the past hour. She declined it without hesitation. He sent me 50 texts, she said, pulling up the messages. Baby, I can explain. It's not what you think. Rebecca's crazy. Please let me fix this. She laughed bitterly. How exactly does he plan to fix 3 different girlfriends? 4, I corrected gently. The brunette at his gym isn't in those messages. Amanda's friend Katie. Aaron's head snapped up. You knew? All of them? I've been keeping track. Old habits die hard when you've been cheated on. Why didn't you tell me directly? I closed the laptop. Would you have believed me? Really? She was quiet for a moment. No, I would have thought you were jealous. God, he told me you were probably still hung up on him, that you might try to cause trouble. Classic Craig, always getting ahead of the story. I found something else, Erin said, pulling out her phone. She opened Instagram and showed me a photo from 2 weeks ago. Craig at a restaurant with a woman cropped just out of frame. The reflection in the window shows it's Rebecca. He always did like that restaurant. Did he take you there too? I nodded. Same table even. By the window. He's not very original, is he? Erin wiped her eyes. Same restaurants, same lies, same necklace. Same ring, I added. She looked up sharply. What? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old photos until I found it. 3 years ago. Notice anything familiar? Erin stared at the engagement ring on my finger in the photo, identical to the one she'd thrown at Craig earlier. That son of a bitch, she whispered. He didn't even bother getting a different ring. A knock at the door interrupted us. Leonard poked his head in. Craig's outside. He's demanding to talk to Erin. Tell him to go to hell, Erin snapped. I did. 3 times. He's not leaving. I stood up. I'll handle it. Natalia. Leonard's warning tone was back. Trust me. I found Craig pacing in the driveway, looking decidedly less polished than he had during the party. Where is she? He demanded. Gone. And if you're smart, you'll leave too. This is all your fault. He jabbed a finger at me. You planned this. You invited Rebecca. You turned Erin against me. Actually, I pulled out my phone. You did that all by yourself. Every message, every photo, every lie. That was all you, Craig. I just made sure the truth came out before Erin made the same mistake I did. You vindictive bitch. Careful, I warned, holding up my phone. I'm recording this conversation. Would you like me to add it to the evidence file I'm building? The one I'm considering sending to your boss? I'm sure he'd love to know how you've been using company time and resources to juggle your girlfriends. Craig's face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. Now leave. Don't call Erin. Don't text her. Don't come near her. Consider this your only warning. Or what? I smiled. Or the next party I crash will be at your office. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned and stormed to his car. As he peeled out of the driveway, I took a screenshot of the recording and sent it to Alice with the caption, Insurance policy. Back inside, I found Erin still at the laptop, but now she was deleting photos. Hundreds of them, every trace of Craig from her social media. Feel better? I asked, getting there. She paused on a photo from their engagement dinner. You know what the worst part is? I actually thought I was special, that I was different from all the other girls. We all did. That's how he works. She closed the laptop with finality. Well, not anymore. I'm done being another trophy in his collection. My phone buzzed with a text from Alice. Is it wrong that I'm enjoying this? I typed back, not at all. The best revenge is letting karma do its job. Erin stood up, straightening her shoulders. I need a drink. A strong one. Now that, I said, linking my arm through hers, is the first step to recovery. He's dating someone new already, Erin announced, barging into my apartment without knocking. It had been 3 weeks since the garden party disaster. Of course he is, I said, closing my laptop. He can't stand being alone. Who is it? Some realtor named Jessica. They're all over each other on Instagram. Erin collapsed onto my couch. 3 weeks. It took him 3 weeks to replace me. He didn't replace you, I corrected. He's just following his pattern. Find someone new, love bomb them, then start the cycle all over again. Like he did with us? Exactly like he did with us. My phone lit up with a message from Rebecca. Thought you'd want to know. Craig's telling everyone Erin was crazy and jealous, playing the victim as usual. I showed Erin the message. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Crazy and jealous? That's rich coming from a man who has a box full of ex-girlfriend trophies. Speaking of that box, I said carefully, what did you do with it? It's in my car. I was going to burn it, but… She hesitated. Some of those girls might want their stuff back. Their letters, their photos. That's surprisingly thoughtful of you. Well, we're all members of the same sad club, aren't we? She pulled out her phone. Look at this. Jessica posted a photo an hour ago. Same restaurant, same table by the window. Let me guess. He ordered the same wine, told the same jokes about the waiter? Probably promised her the same future, too. Aaron's voice cracked slightly. God, I almost married him. A knock at the door interrupted us. Leonard stood there, looking uncomfortable. Craig's at the house, he said to Aaron. He's packing up his stuff. What? Aaron jumped up. No, I'm supposed to be there to supervise. That was the agreement. He brought Jessica with him, Leonard added grimly. Oh, that's just perfect. Aaron grabbed her keys. He's probably trying to steal half my things and impress his new girlfriend at the same time. I'll come with you, I offered, already reaching for my coat. The drive to Aaron's house was tense. When we arrived, Craig's car was in the driveway, along with a shiny BMW that must belong to Jessica. Ready? I asked Aaron. She squared her shoulders. Ready. Inside, we found Craig and a tall blonde woman boxing up books in the living room. They both looked up when we entered. You're not supposed to be here alone, Aaron said coldly. I'm not alone, Craig gestured to Jessica. And I'm just getting my things. That's my grandmother's vase, Aaron snapped, snatching a wrapped object from one of the boxes. Oh, I thought that was mine. You thought wrong. Aaron started going through the boxes. And this photo album? These are all my family photos. What were you planning to do with these? Jessica shifted uncomfortably. Craig said these were all his things. Craig says a lot of things, I commented. Most of them aren't true. Craig's face darkened. Stay out of this, Natalia. Or what? I pulled out my phone. Should I show Jessica the evidence file? The messages, the photos, the identical necklaces you buy for all your girlfriends? Jessica's head snapped toward Craig. What is she talking about? Nothing, Craig said quickly. They're just bitter. Crazy and jealous? Aaron interrupted. Is that what you were going to say? Like you've been telling everyone? I have the text to prove it, I added helpfully. Would you like to see them, Jessica? I'm sure you'd find them interesting, especially the ones from 3 weeks ago. Jessica took a step away from Craig. 3 weeks ago, but we started dating 4 weeks ago? I finished for her. Funny how that timing works out. The color drained from Jessica's face. She grabbed her purse. I think I should go. Jess, wait. Craig reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't call me. She practically ran from the house. Craig rounded on us. Are you happy now? Can't stand to see me moving on? Moving on? Aaron laughed. You never moved on, Craig. You just keep recycling the same lies with different women. Get out, I said quietly. Leave the boxes. We'll send your actual belongings to your office. This isn't over, he threatened. Actually, Leonard stepped forward. It is. Leave now, or I'm calling the police. After Craig stormed out, Aaron sank onto the couch, shaking. You okay? I asked. She nodded slowly. You know what? I actually am. For the first time in weeks, I really am. Good, I said, sitting beside her. Because karma's not done with Craig yet. Not even close. You have to see this. Alice burst into my office, waving her phone. Craig's company just posted on LinkedIn. I looked up from my work. Please tell me he got fired. Better. She perched on my desk, pulling up the post. Remember how you sent that anonymous tip about him using company resources for his personal activities? Maybe. Well, apparently that triggered an internal audit. They found everything. Personal emails, dating app messages, expense reports for dates he claimed were client meetings. I leaned back in my chair. How much did he steal? Enough to get the police involved. Alice's grin was wicked. But here's the best part. Rebecca worked in accounting. She's the one who helped them trace everything. Karma really is a beautiful thing. My phone buzzed. Erin calling. Have you seen it? She asked without preamble. Just hearing about it now. You okay? I'm great. Actually, she paused. Can you meet me for coffee? There's something I need to tell you. 20 minutes later, I found Erin at our usual cafe, practically bouncing in her seat. I got a call from the police this morning, she said as I sat down. They want to know if I have any evidence of Craig using our joint account for unauthorized purchases. Like the engagement ring he recycled? Exactly like that. She pulled out a folder. I've been gathering everything since we broke up. The ring receipts, the duplicate charges, the mysterious cash withdrawals. Look at you playing detective. I learned from the best. She smiled. You know, when I first found out about you and Craig, I thought you were trying to ruin my life. Now I realize you were trying to save me from ruining it myself. To be fair, I did enjoy watching him implode. We all did. She pushed a coffee toward me. But that's not why I called you here. I have something to show you. She pulled up her email on her phone and handed it to me. It was a group message to over a dozen women, all Craig's exes. I found them through that box of trophies, she explained. We've been talking, sharing stories. Turns out Craig's been running this same scam for years. The police want to talk to all of us. How many? 15 that we know of, and those are just the ones he was serious enough about to keep mementos from. My phone buzzed with a text from Seth. Craig just got arrested at work. It's all over social media. I showed Erin the message. She didn't look surprised. Rebecca sent me a video. He tried to run when the police showed up. Knocked over 3 cubicles before they caught him. Always did have a flair for the dramatic, I mused. There's something else. Erin took a deep breath. We're all meeting tonight. All of us. The exes. Some of these women lost everything to him. Homes, savings, careers. We're thinking about filing a class action lawsuit. Count me in. Really? Even after all this time? Especially after all this time. I pulled out my own phone. I've kept everything. Every message, every receipt, every lie. I just never had enough evidence on my own to do anything about it. But together we can bury him. The cafe door chimed and Alice walked in, followed by Rebecca. Seeing my surprise, Erin grinned. I hope you don't mind. I invited them. Thought we could start planning our strategy. Rebecca sat down, looking nothing like the woman from the garden party. I brought the company financial records, she said, patting her bag. Turns out being the other woman has its advantages. Craig trusted me with everything. And I brought wine, Alice added, producing a bottle from her purse, because this calls for a celebration. We can't drink here, I protested. Actually, we can. Erin waved to the barista. I rented out the whole cafe for the afternoon. The others will be here soon. Others? Sarah's flying in from Chicago. Amanda's driving up from Portland. Even Katie's coming. The gym girl? I laughed. Craig must be having a meltdown. Oh, he is. Rebecca showed us her phone. Craig's desperate messages flooding her screen. He knows we're all talking. He just doesn't know what's coming next. To karma. Alice raised her coffee cup. To justice, Rebecca added. To sisterhood, Erin said. I looked around at these women. Former rivals turned allies, victims turned warriors. To truth, I said finally. Because it always comes out in the end. The cafe door chimed again as more women began arriving, each carrying their own pieces of the puzzle that would finally bring Craig down. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting justice. And sometimes the best way to get justice is to let karma work through the very people who were hurt the most. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as we made our way inside. 15 women, walking together, heads held high. Ready for this? Alice squeezed my hand. Born ready. I spotted Craig at the defense table, looking smaller somehow in his ill-fitting suit. His eyes widened as we filed in, one by one, filling 2 complete rows behind the prosecution. "All rise," the bailiff called. The proceedings moved quickly. Each woman took her turn testifying, sharing stories that were painfully similar: the love bombing, the manipulation, the financial fraud. Craig's lawyer looked increasingly desperate as the evidence mounted. When it was my turn, I walked to the witness stand with steady steps. "Ms. McBride," the prosecutor began, "please tell the court about the pattern you discovered." I looked directly at Craig as I spoke. Same restaurants, same gifts, same lies. He didn't just steal our money, he stole years of our lives, our trust, our ability to believe in love. And he did it systematically, meticulously, like it was his job. "Objection!" Craig's lawyer jumped up. "Speculation about my client's motives." "Overruled," the judge cut in. "Continue, Ms. McBride." I held up my phone. "I have here a spreadsheet. Every date, every gift, every lie. Documented and cross-referenced with 15 other women. The necklaces he bought us were identical, down to the price tag. The rings, too. He didn't even bother changing his stories, just recycled them like he recycled us." Craig's face had gone from pale to gray. He knew what was coming next. "And then there's the money," I continued. "Company funds diverted to personal accounts. Client meetings that were actually dates. Expense reports filled with gifts for multiple women, all charged to his employer." The evidence was damning. Rebecca's financial records, Sarah's bank statements, Amanda's photos, Katie's text messages. Piece by piece, we dismantled the facade Craig had built. During a break, Erin found me in the hallway. "That was incredible," she said. "Did you see his face when you pulled out the spreadsheet?" "I saw, but it's your testimony next, and you've got the knockout punch." She patted her bag containing the trophy box. "Everything he kept, every memory he collected, it's all evidence now." When court resumed, Erin's testimony was devastating. She laid out the contents of Craig's trophy box like pieces of a puzzle, showing how each item connected to a different woman, a different fraud, a different lie. The jury took less than 2 hours to reach their verdict. "Guilty on all counts," the 4 women announced. The sentence came swiftly: 8 years in prison, full restitution to all victims, and a permanent ban from working in finance. As Craig was led away in handcuffs, he tried one last time. "Natalia, please, you have to believe." "Save it." I cut him off. "Your stories don't work anymore." Outside, the 15 of us gathered on the courthouse steps. Reporters thrust microphones at us, asking for statements. "What do you want to say to other women who might be in similar situations?" one reporter asked. Erin stepped forward. "Trust your instincts. And if you find yourself in this situation, don't stay silent. Find your voice. Find your strength. Find your sisters." Later that evening, we all gathered at my apartment. The mood was celebratory but contemplative. "I can't believe it's really over," Sarah said, nursing a glass of wine. "It's not over," Rebecca corrected. "It's just beginning. We're starting a support network for women who've been through similar situations. Count me in," I said. "Someone needs to help karma do its job." Speaking of karma, Alice pulled up her phone. Craig's arrest made the national news. His face is everywhere. No woman will date him again without Googling him first. "Good," Erin said firmly. "That's exactly what we wanted." Leonard arrived with pizza, looking proud. "My sister, the karma enforcer." "More like karma's assistant." I laughed. All I did was help the truth come out. "The truth." Erin raised her glass. "And the power of women supporting women." I looked around at these amazing women. No longer victims, but survivors, warriors, sisters. Each of us had walked into Craig's life alone, but we were walking out together, stronger than ever. "To us," I proposed a toast. "And to karma, may she always find her mark." "To karma," they echoed. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert about Craig's conviction. I smiled and put the phone away. Some stories don't need an epilogue. Sometimes justice itself is the perfect ending. The future stretched out before us, full of possibility and hope. Not because we got revenge, but because we got justice. And in the end, that was the sweetest victory of all.
The manila envelope sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 3 days. I kept walking past it, pretending it didn't exist, just like I'd spent years pretending my great-aunt Mabel's favoritism toward me didn't exist. Now she was gone, and this envelope was all that remained of our secret Sunday afternoon tea parties. I'm Sophia, and I've always been the responsible one, the reliable one, the boring one, according to my sister Taya. But Aunt Mabel saw something different in me, something I'm only now beginning to understand. "Just open it already," Amelia's voice crackled through my phone speaker. "You're driving me crazy with this waiting game." I know. I paced around my tiny apartment, phone in hand. It's just... What if it's nothing? What if it's just old photos or recipe cards? Then you'll have recipe cards, but what if it's not nothing? What if it's everything? I grabbed the envelope and dropped onto my couch. "Fine, I'm opening it. Stay on the line. Obviously." The paper ripped easily under my fingers. Inside, I found a letter and... I gasped. "What? Sophia, what is it?" It's a check. "Amelia, it's for $50,000. The silence on the other end lasted 3 seconds before Amelia screamed, "Holy shit!" My hands shook as I read Aunt Mabel's letter. Her elegant handwriting filled the page with memories of our conversations about dreams and destinations, about the places we'd both longed to see. She remembered, I whispered. Every single thing I told her about wanting to travel, about Mom and Dad's dream trip they could never afford. The doorbell rang, making me jump. "Hold on, someone's here." I opened the door to find my mother, Daphne, holding a casserole dish. "Surprise, I brought dinner." "Mom!" I quickly stuffed the envelope under a throw pillow. "I wasn't expecting you." Can't a mother check on her daughter? She bustled into my kitchen, all flowing scarves and jangling bracelets. "You've been so quiet since the funeral." I followed her, watching as she pulled plates from my cabinets. "I'm fine, really. Just processing." "Well, process while you eat. Oh, and your father and I were thinking about having a family dinner this weekend. Taya has some exciting news." Of course she does. Taya always has exciting news. "Sure, Mom. I'll be there." After dinner, I called Amelia back. "I think I know what I want to do with the money. Please tell me you're not giving it to Taya's latest business venture." "No." I pulled up a travel website on my laptop. "I'm going to give Mom and Dad their dream trip. 3 months around the world. Everything they've ever talked about seeing." "Wow, that's actually amazing. But what about you?" I smiled, remembering all those afternoons with Aunt Mabel, plotting imaginary adventures over Earl Grey tea. "I'll plan it all. Make it perfect. They deserve this." Later that night, I stopped by my parents' house to pick up some old photos Aunt Mabel had left there. As I approached the front door, I heard voices through the open window. "But Taya really needs this support right now," Mum was saying. "We can't just abandon her new project." I know. Dad's voice was tired. "But we have to think about Sophia too. She's been so good about everything. Sophia will understand. She always does." I froze on the porch, my hand halfway to the doorbell. "Besides," Taya's voice drifted out, bright and confident, "my wellness center idea is guaranteed to make money. Once it takes off, I can pay everyone back." Just like the coffee shop was guaranteed, and the vintage clothing store, and the food truck. "Of course you will, sweetie," Mom's voice dripped with pride. "We believe in you." I backed away from the door, my chest tight. In my car, I pulled out my phone and opened my travel planning document. My finger hovered over the delete button, but instead I started typing. Day 1, Tokyo, cherry blossoms in spring. Day 15, Bangkok street food tours. Day 30, swimming with dolphins in Australia. Aunt Mabel's voice echoed in my head. "Sometimes the best revenge is living well, my dear." I drove home with a strange lightness in my chest. Tomorrow I would present my parents with the trip of their dreams. And then, well, we'd see what happened next. But first, I needed to make a stop at the travel clinic for some vaccinations, just in case. I spent 3 hours arranging everything perfectly on my parents' dining room table. Detailed itineraries bound in leather folders, first-class plane tickets, hotel reservations at places they'd only dreamed about, and a world map marked with colourful pins showing their route. Sophia, honey, what's all this? Mom walked in, followed by Dad and Tyre. They'd just returned from touring potential locations for Tyre's wellness centre. Sit down, everyone. I could barely contain my excitement. I have something to show you. Can it wait? Tyre flopped onto a chair, scrolling through her phone. I need to tell everyone about the amazing space I found. Just 5 minutes, please? I handed Mom and Dad each a folder. Open them. Mom's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. Paris, Rome, Bangkok. She looked up at me. What is this? Remember all those times we sat around this table planning your dream trip? My voice quivered. The one you never took because of college tuitions and mortgage payments. Dad's hands trembled as he held up the plane tickets. Sophia, these are first class. Aunt Mabel left me some money. I reached across the table and grabbed their hands. And I want you to have this. 3 months, all expenses paid, everywhere you've ever wanted to go. Oh my God, Mom whispered, tears forming in her eyes. This is incredible. The timing couldn't be worse. Tyre interrupted, finally looking up from her phone. Mom and Dad promised to help me with the wellness centre. I need them here. But this is... Dad started. Daddy, I already put down the deposit. The contractor starts next week. I can't do this without you both. I watched Mom's face change, that familiar shift I'd seen 1,000 times before. Sweetie, maybe we could postpone the centre for a few months. No. Tyre slammed her hand on the table. This is my chance to finally prove myself. After everything that happened with the food truck, I need this to work. You promised. The silence that followed felt like a physical weight. I knew what was coming before Mom even opened her mouth. Sophia. She reached for my hand. You understand, don't you? Tyre needs us right now. Need you? My voice came out sharper than intended. She needs your money. Again. That's not fair, Dad protested weakly. Isn't it? I stood up, gathering the folders. How much did the food truck cost you? The vintage store, the coffee shop? Those were investments, Tyre snapped. This is different. Right. Just like this trip is different. This isn't about money, it's about the one thing you've both wanted your entire lives. Sophia. Mum's voice took on that placating tone I hated. We appreciate the gesture, really. But family has to come first. I am family. The words exploded out of me. Or have you forgotten that while funding Tyre's endless parade of failed dreams? The room fell silent. Even Tyre looked shocked. I'll cancel the tickets, I said quietly, shoving everything into my bag. Wouldn't want to interfere with another guaranteed success story. I drove home in a daze, barely registering the traffic lights. In my kitchen, I pulled out my phone and started recording. Hey, Mom, Dad. By the time you see this, I'll be gone. I reached for the flour, sugar, and cocoa powder. Aunt Mabel always said baking helped clear the mind. Remember when I was 10 and you promised to take me to Disneyland? We never went because Tyre needed dance lessons. I cracked eggs with more force than necessary. Remember my college graduation? You missed it because Tyre's coffee shop was having its grand opening. The one that closed 3 months later. The cake batter came together smoothly despite my shaking hands. Well, guess what? Aunt Mabel didn't just leave me money. She left me permission to put myself first. I poured the batter into a pan. So while you're helping Tyre with her latest guaranteed failure, I'll be living our dream. Your dream. My dream. And this time, I won't let anyone take it away from me. The oven timer dinged. I pulled out a perfect chocolate cake, Aunt Mabel's recipe. I'll send postcards, maybe even bring you back some souvenirs. But right now, I'm going to eat this entire cake by myself and book a one-way ticket to Tokyo. I ended the recording and cut myself a huge slice. Tomorrow I'd start packing. Tomorrow I'd call the travel clinic and confirm my appointments. Tomorrow I'd begin planning my solo adventure. But tonight? Tonight was for chocolate cake and the sweet, sweet taste of rebellion. You're really doing this? Amelia helped me zip up my overflowing suitcase. Like, actually getting on a plane in 3 hours? Watch me. I checked my passport for the 100th time. Did you know my phone's been blowing up since yesterday? 37 missed calls from Mum, 23 from Dad, and about 1 million texts from Tyre. Have you read any of them? I shook my head, tossing my phone onto the bed. Don't need to, it's all, how could you be so selfish and think about your sister, and we need to talk about this as a family. Speaking of family, Amelia hesitated. When are you sending the video? I pulled up the recording on my laptop. Right before I board. Maximum dramatic effect. I grabbed my carry-on bag. Ready? The drive to the airport felt surreal. Every traffic light seemed to ask if I was sure, if I really wanted to do this. My answer remained the same. Absolutely. Holy shit, Amelia whispered as we pulled up to the departures terminal. That's your parents' car. Sure enough, there was Dad's silver Volvo, with Mom pacing nearby and Tyre sitting on the hood, arms crossed. How did they know? I gripped the steering wheel. Probably called the airlines. Amelia squeezed my arm. Want me to create a distraction? I could fake a medical emergency. I laughed despite myself. No need, I'm done running from confrontations. We parked 3 spaces down. As I stepped out, Mom rushed over. Sophia, stop this nonsense right now. She reached for my suitcase. We can talk about this at home. I pulled the handle away. There's nothing to talk about. My flight leaves in 2 hours. You're being ridiculous, Tyre called from her perch on the car. All this drama over a stupid trip. No. I wheeled my suitcase toward the terminal entrance. All this drama over 28 years of being second best. Dad stepped in front of me. Princess, please, your mother and I love you both equally. Really? I pulled out my phone. Let's play a game called Count the Times. Count the times you missed my events for Tyres. Count the times you emptied your savings for her ideas. Count the times you said Sophia will understand instead of Tyre needs to grow up. That's not fair, Mom protested. Life's not fair. But you know what is? First-class tickets to Tokyo. I checked my watch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a plane to catch. If you get on that plane, Tyre announced dramatically, don't expect us to be here when you get back. I turned to face her. Funny, I was about to say the same thing. Amelia, who'd been quietly filming everything on her phone, stepped forward. Security's right there, guys. Make this easier on everyone and let her go. Mum started crying. Dad looked lost, and Tyre stormed off toward their car. I hugged Amelia tight. Send me updates, she whispered, and that video is going to be epic. Inside the terminal, I checked my bags and made it through security in record time. At my gate, I found a quiet corner and pulled out my laptop. The video was ready to send, but I opened it for one final edit. P.S., I added at the end, I just walked past you all at the airport. Did you notice I wasn't crying? That's because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing me, and it feels amazing. I hit send, then forwarded it to Amelia for backup. As I watched the message sent confirmation appear, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. How could you embarrass us like this in public? I typed back, how could you embarrass me for 28 years in private? Then I turned off my phone, ordered an overpriced airport coffee, and pulled out my travel journal. Another gift from Aunt Mabel. On the first page, she'd written, the world is wide, and you are strong. Go find yourself, my brave girl. Now boarding first-class passengers for Flight 847 to Tokyo, the announcer called. I gathered my things, handed over my boarding pass, and walked down the jet bridge without looking back. As I settled into my seat, I noticed my hands weren't shaking anymore. The flight attendant appeared with a glass of champagne. First time to Japan? First time anywhere. I accepted the glass. First time being free, she smiled knowingly. In that case, welcome aboard. To new beginnings. I raised my glass to the window, toasting my reflection and the wide blue sky beyond. To new beginnings, I whispered, and to Aunt Mabel, who knew exactly what she was doing. The engines roared to life, and with them so did I. Tokyo hit me like a tidal wave of neon and noise. Standing outside Shibuya Station, I watched the famous crossing fill and empty with waves of people, each cycle perfectly timed to the traffic lights. My exhausted brain tried to process the signs, the sounds, the smells of yakitori from nearby food stalls. First time in Japan? I turned to find a tall man with a well-worn backpack and an easy smile. He'd been on my flight, a few rows behind me in first class. That obvious, huh? You have that deer in the headlights look we all get our first time here. He extended his hand. I'm Bryson, professional wanderer, amateur photographer, and unofficial guide for lost souls at Shibuya Crossing. Sophia, I shook his hand. And I'm definitely lost. My hotel's supposed to be around here somewhere. Let me guess. The Cerulean? I'm headed that way myself. Mind if I walk with you? As we navigated the crowded streets, Bryson pointed out hidden gems, a tiny ramen shop, a vintage record store, a vending machine that sold hot coffee in cans. So, he said as we waited at a crosswalk, what brings you to Tokyo, business or pleasure? Revenge, actually. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Instead of looking shocked, Bryson laughed. Best reason I've heard all day. Want to talk about it over ramen? That shop we passed makes the best tonkotsu in the city. An hour later, sitting at a cramped counter with steam rising from our bowls, I found myself telling him everything. Your aunt sounds like she was quite a woman, he said, expertly wielding his chopsticks. She was. I just wish. I stirred my noodles. I wish I'd had her courage sooner. Hey! Bryson put down his chopsticks. You're here now, aren't you? That takes guts. Or spite. Sometimes spite is just courage wearing a disguise. He pulled out his phone. Look at these. He showed me photos from his travels. Sunrise at Machu Picchu, dancing at Carnival in Rio, camping under the northern lights. Each of these places taught me something about myself. Tokyo taught me that I'm stronger than I thought. Paris taught me to slow down. India taught me that family isn't always blood. What brought you here the first time? A broken engagement and a maxed-out credit card. He grinned. Best-worst decision I ever made. After dinner, we walked back toward the hotel. The city had transformed in the darkness, glowing with possibility. Check your phone yet? Bryson asked. Not since I landed. I pulled it from my bag and turned it on. Immediately, notifications flooded the screen. Wow. Bryson peered over my shoulder. Someone's popular. Not popular, just... I scrolled through the messages. Yep, exactly what I expected. Mom's guilt-tripping, Dad's disappointed, and Taya's... Oh, this is rich. She's demanding I come home because her wellness center investors backed out. And how does that make you feel? I looked up at the Tokyo Tower glowing orange against the night sky. Free. Good answer. Bryson pulled out a business card. Listen, I'm meeting some fellow travelers tomorrow for a street food tour. Want to join? Much better than sitting in your hotel room reading angry texts. I took the card. I don't know. First rule of solo travel. Say yes to everything that doesn't involve organ harvesting. That made me laugh. Is that an actual rule? It is now. He started walking backward toward the hotel entrance. Meet in the lobby at 10 if you're interested. Bring your appetite and your camera. In my room, I finally opened Amelia's messages. Video received epic response on family group chat. Taya had meltdown. Mom called me crying. Dad actually said, maybe we messed up. Progress, I sent back. Just had ramen with a stranger. Said yes to street food tour tomorrow. Who am I? Her response was immediate. You're Sophia 2.0 and I'm here for it. P.S. Is stranger hot? I looked at Bryson's card, smiling. Not the point, but yes. Before bed, I opened my travel journal and wrote, Dear Aunt Mabel, Day 1. I ate the best ramen of my life, got lost in the best city in the world, and learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say yes to a stranger's kindness. Also, I think I finally understand why you left everything behind to travel when you were my age. Some forms of freedom can only be found far from home. My phone buzzed with another message from Taya. Everything's falling apart, and it's all your fault. I turned off my phone, opened my window to let in the city sounds, and for the first time in years, fell asleep without worrying about anyone else's problems but my own. 2 weeks into my Tokyo adventure, I sat cross-legged on my hotel room floor, surrounded by shopping bags and souvenirs, trying to figure out how to fit everything into my suitcase. My phone buzzed with Amelia's FaceTime call. "Show me everything," she demanded before I could even say hello. I panned the camera around. "I might need to buy another suitcase. Is that a cat robot? And what's that blue thing?" "The robot's for you. The blue thing is..." A knock at the door interrupted us. "Hold on," I told Amelia, opening the door to find Bryson holding 2 coffee cans. "Ready for your last day in Tokyo?" He tossed me one of the cans. "Oh, sorry, didn't know you were on a call." "Is that hot, stranger?" Amelia's voice rang out. "Turn the camera back around." I felt my face flush. "Amelia Bryson. Bryson. My very subtle best friend, Amelia." "Nice to meet you." Bryson waved at the phone. "Thanks for letting her run away to Japan." Speaking of running away, Amelia's tone turned serious. "Sophia, check your email. Your mum sent something to the whole family, including me, weirdly." I pulled up my email while Bryson helped gather my scattered purchases. The subject line read, "Family emergency. Sophia, please come home." "Your sister's wellness centre fell through," Amelia explained before I could open it. "Your parents took out a second mortgage to fund it, and now they're in trouble." Bryson stopped folding a t-shirt. "You okay?" I opened the email. Mum's words jumped out at me. "Desperate times. Family needs to stick together. Your father's health. Taya's depression. Please come home." "They're guilt-tripping you," Amelia said. "Don't fall for it." "Sophia." Bryson sat beside me. "Whatever you decide, Bangkok will still be there." I looked at my packed bags, at the ticket to Bangkok on my phone, at the half-drunk coffee in my hand. "I need to make a call." Bryson squeezed my shoulder and left quietly. I propped my phone up and dialed my parents' number on speaker so Amelia could hear. Mom answered on the first ring. "Sophia." "Oh, thank God." "Hi, Mom. I got your email." "Then you're coming home?" Hope filled her voice. "No." The word came out stronger than I expected. "I'm not. But your father's blood pressure is fine. I called his doctor yesterday. Regular checkup. Everything normal." Silence on the other end. "And Taya's depression? Let me guess. Started right after her investors backed out?" "You don't understand," Mom began. "Actually, I do. For the first time, I really do. You took out a second mortgage without telling me, didn't you? Even after what happened with the food truck and the vintage store? We believed in her dream. No, you enabled her nightmare, and now you want me to come home and what? Hand over Aunt Mabel's money to fix everything? She's your sister, and I'm your daughter, the one who's been cleaning up everyone's messes since I was 12. But not anymore." I heard Dad in the background. "Let me talk to her." "Sophia," his voice came through clearer. "Princess, we need you." "No, Dad. You need my money. There's a difference." I took a deep breath. "I love you both, but I'm boarding a plane to Bangkok tomorrow. I'll send postcards." I hung up before they could respond. Amelia wiped tears from her eyes. "That was beautiful. And terrifying. Are you okay?" "Actually, yeah." I stood up, suddenly energized. "I need to finish packing. Call you later." After ending the call, I opened my laptop and booked a food photography workshop in Bangkok. Then I texted Bryson, "Ready for that farewell dinner you promised. Also, teach me how to say no in Thai." His response came quickly. "My, and I know just the place. Meet you in lobby in 10. That night, over plates of yakitori and glasses of sake, Bryson showed me more travel photos on his camera. "See this one?" He pointed to a sunset shot in Greece. "Took this right after I told my ex-fiancé to stop calling. Some moments just feel like turning points, you know." Like telling your parents you won't bail them out anymore? Exactly. He raised his glass. To turning points. To turning points, I echoed, then added, and to Aunt Mabel, who somehow knew I'd need this. Back in my room, I opened my journal. Dear Aunt Mabel, Day 14. Today I learned that sometimes the bravest word in any language is no. Tomorrow I leave for Bangkok, and for the first time in my life, I'm not worried about what I'm leaving behind, only excited about what's ahead. My phone buzzed with a text from Taya. Hope you're happy with yourself. I typed back, I am, finally. Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep, dreaming of Thai street food and endless possibilities. Bangkok's heat hit like a physical wall as I stepped out of the air-conditioned airport. Bryson had flown ahead 2 days earlier, promising to show me the real Bangkok, not just the tourist traps. There's my favourite runaway. He appeared through the crowd, looking perfectly at home in the chaos. Ready for your first Thai adventure? As long as it involves food and air conditioning, in that order. The taxi ride into the city became a crash course in Thai culture, with Bryson pointing out temples and street markets between stories of his previous visits. Your food photography workshop starts tomorrow, he said as we pulled up to my hotel. But tonight, I'm taking you to meet some people you need to know. People I need to know. Trust me. After checking in and a quick shower, I followed Bryson through winding alleys until we reached a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. A group of people waved from a large table. Everyone, Bryson announced, meet Sophia, the newest member of our nomad family. The introductions flew by. Maria from Brazil, who left her corporate job to teach yoga around the world. Jack from Australia, running his tech company remotely while traveling. Sarah from Canada, a travel blogger who hadn't been home in 3 years. So, Maria leaned forward, Bryson tells us you're on a revenge trip? I prefer to call it a self-discovery journey now, I laughed, accepting a glass of local beer. Aren't they all? Sarah pulled out her phone. Look at this photo from my first week away. I was crying in a hostel in Amsterdam because my mum wouldn't stop calling. What changed? I asked. I did. She swiped to a more recent photo of herself swimming with whale sharks. Somewhere between Amsterdam and Indonesia, I stopped feeling guilty for choosing myself. My phone buzzed. Another email from Mom. Your father's really upset. Please just call us. Jack noticed my expression. Family stuff? They're trying everything to get me to come home. I showed them the email. Guilt, manipulation, health scares. Delete it, Maria said firmly. Right now. But trust me, delete it. Then give me your phone. I did as she said. Maria took my phone and dropped it into her massive purse. You get this back tomorrow after your workshop. Tonight you're going to learn how to live in the moment. The night became a blur of street food tours, night markets and laughter. These people who'd known me for hours somehow felt more like family than my actual family had in years. Your sister's wellness centre, Jack said as we devoured mango sticky rice. Classic narcissist move. My brother pulled similar stunts for years. How did you handle it? Started saying no. He didn't speak to me for a year. Jack shrugged. Best year of my life. Around midnight, Sarah grabbed my arm. Come with me. There's something you need to see. She led the group to a tiny temple still open, with butter lamps flickering in the darkness. Buddhist tradition says you can let go of your past here, she explained, handing me a lamp. Light it. Make a wish. Leave your guilt behind. I stared at the small flame. Is it really that simple? No, Bryson appeared beside me. But it's a start. As I placed my lamp among the others, my hands steady and sure, Sarah took a photo. For your new beginning, she said, showing me the image. In it, I was smiling, the lamplight making everything glow gold. Back at my hotel, Bryson lingered at the entrance. Early start tomorrow. Your workshop's at 8. Thank you, I said, for tonight, for everything. Thank me by sending a postcard from your next destination. He grinned. Where are you thinking? Vietnam, maybe? Sarah mentioned something about a cooking class in Hanoi. Good choice. The PHO will change your life. In my room, I found a package waiting, a leather-bound photo album with a note from Maria. For your new memories. The old ones can stay where they belong, in the past. I opened my journal. Dear Aunt Mabel, 1 month into my journey and I finally understand what you meant about finding your tribe. Tonight, I met people who measured success not by what they owned or owed, but by how freely they lived. P.S. I think you'd love Sarah. She has your way of turning strangers into family. Before sleep, I remembered my phone was still in Maria's purse. Strangely, I didn't miss it. Tomorrow I'd learn to capture Bangkok's flavors through a lens. Tomorrow I'd plan my trip to Vietnam. Tomorrow I'd get my phone back and probably find dozens of missed calls. But tonight I fell asleep to the sounds of the city, feeling more at home than I ever had in my actual home. Finally understanding that family isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes it's who you find along the way. You have got to be kidding me. I stared at the elderly woman across the cafe table in Hanoi. You knew Aunt Mabel. Margaret, my aunt's old college friend, stirred her Vietnamese coffee with precise movements. Knew her? Darling, I was with her the day she decided to leave everything behind. I'd found Margaret through a series of coincidences, a comment on my travel blog, an exchanged email, and suddenly I was sitting in her expat hideaway in Hanoi's old quarter. Tell me everything. I leaned forward, my own coffee forgotten. It was 1975. Your aunt had just received a promotion at the bank, and everyone expected her to settle down, marry that boring accountant who'd been pursuing her. Margaret's eyes twinkled. Instead, she sold her car, emptied her accounts, and bought a one-way ticket to Asia. Just like that? Just like that. Your grandmother was furious, called it a betrayal of family obligations. She paused. Sound familiar? My phone buzzed. Another message from Mom. Tyre's moving back home. We're selling the house. Please come help us sort through everything. I showed Margaret the message. Ah, she nodded. History repeats itself. You know, your aunt used to get similar messages. Your sister needs you. The family business is struggling. How could you be so selfish? What did she do? She lived, gloriously, unapologetically lived. Margaret pulled out an old photo album. Look. The photos showed a younger Aunt Mabel, riding elephants in Thailand, teaching English in Japan, dancing at festivals in India. But here's what you really need to see. Margaret flipped to the last page. A letter fell out, dated just months before Aunt Mabel's death. Dear Margaret, I read aloud, I'm leaving my travel money to Sophia. She reminds me so much of us at that age, trapped by family expectations, dying to break free. Tell her, if you ever meet her, that the inheritance isn't just money. It's permission. Permission to choose herself first like we did. My hands shook. She planned this? Of course she did. Mabel never did anything without a purpose. Margaret reached across the table. She saw herself in you, saw how your family treated you. She wanted to give you what her escape gave her, a chance to become yourself. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Princess, we need you. Family has to stick together. What would Aunt Mabel say right now? I asked. Margaret laughed. She'd say, Darling, the only thing family has to do is let each other grow. She stood up. Come on, I want to show you something. We walked through Hanoi's bustling streets to a small Buddhist temple, different from the tourist spots but reminiscent of the one in Bangkok. Mabel and I made a pact here, Margaret said, to never let guilt drag us back to lives that were too small for us. Your turn. To make a pact? To decide. Right here, right now. Are you living your life or theirs? I thought about Tyre moving home, about the house being sold, about all the times I'd cleaned up everyone else's messes. Then I thought about Tokyo nights with Bryson, Bangkok rooftops with my new friends, and this moment standing in a peaceful temple with my aunt's co-conspirator. Mine, I said firmly. I'm living mine. Good girl. Margaret hugged me. Now, about that cooking class you mentioned wanting to take, that evening in my hotel room I wrote 3 emails. To Mom and Dad. I love you, but I won't be coming home. Sell the house, help Tyre. But do it without me this time. I'm exactly where I need to be. To Tyre. I hope you find your path. Really. But it has to be your path, not one paved with our parents' sacrifices. To Amelia. You'll never believe who I just met. Aunt Mabel had a partner in crime, and she's just as amazing as you'd expect. P.S. Book a ticket to Vietnam. There's someone you need to meet. My phone rang. Bryson's weekly check-in from Cambodia. How's Hanoi treating you? He asked. Better than home ever did. I looked out at the city lights. Hey, what do you know about Nepal? Funny you should ask. I'm heading there next week. Want company? I thought about Aunt Mabel's photos, about Margaret's stories, about permission to choose myself. Yes, I said. But first, I need to learn how to make proper pho. Margaret knows a place. Margaret? It's a long story, involving my aunt, a rebellion in 1975, and apparently a very boring accountant who got left behind. Bryson laughed. Sounds like my kind of story. Mine too, I said, watching the sunset paint Hanoi in gold. Finally, mine too. The sunrise over the Himalayas painted the mountains gold as I adjusted my camera settings. After 6 countries and countless adventures, Nepal felt different, special, like an ending, or maybe a beginning. Perfect light, Bryson said, setting up his own tripod beside me. Ready for your last shoot? Not my last, just my last as a student. I checked the composition. After this, I'm officially a professional travel photographer. Speaking of which, he handed me an envelope. Sarah asked me to give you this. Inside was a contract offering me a position as a photographer for her travel blog network. Real money, real assignments, real freedom. My phone buzzed. Amelia's daily check-in. Did you open it yet? Sarah told me about the offer. Just did. It's actually happening. Of course it is. You're good at this, like really good. She paused. Oh, and your mom called me again. What did she want this time? To know if you got the wedding invitation. I had. Taya was getting married to some investor she'd met at a yoga retreat. The invitation arrived at Margaret's address in Hanoi, where I'd been receiving my mail. Are you going? Amelia asked. Haven't decided. I watched the sun climb higher. Bryson, what do you think? He lowered his camera. I think you should do whatever feels right, not what feels expected. Very zen of you, I laughed. Must be all this mountain air. Speaking of mountain air, Amelia cut in, when do I get to meet this guy properly? Video calls don't count. Soon, Bryson called toward the phone. If she accepts Sarah's offer, we'll all be in Barcelona next month. After ending the call, I sat on a rock overlooking the valley, flipping through my now full travel journal. The pages burst with ticket stubs, restaurant receipts, and photographs, physical proof of my transformation. Mail came to the hotel, Bryson said, handing me a thick envelope. From your parents. Inside was a letter and a check, my share from selling the house. The letter was in Dad's handwriting. Dear Sophia, your mother wanted me to guilt you again, but I'm done with that. Seeing your travel photos online, reading your stories, you remind me of someone I used to know, a young man who wanted to explore the world but chose the safe path instead. I don't want that for you. We sold the house. Taya's wedding is in 3 months. Come if you want, don't if you don't. Either way, we're proud of you. Finally proud of you being you, not you taking care of everyone else. Love, Dad. P.S. Your Aunt Mabel once told me I was too afraid to live. She was right. You're braver than I ever was. You okay? Bryson asked, noticing my tears. Yeah, I folded the letter. I think I'm going to the wedding. Want company? I looked at him, really looked at him. 6 months of shared adventures, shared meals, shared dreams had turned him from a stranger into something else entirely. Yes, I said, but not as my travel buddy. He smiled, understanding perfectly. About time. The sun had fully risen now, illuminating the valley below. My phone buzzed with a message from Margaret. Mabel would be proud. So am I. P.S. That boy reminds me of someone I met in Thailand in '76. But that's a story for another time. I pulled out my journal one last time. Dear Aunt Mabel, the money's gone now, spent on planes and trains and tuk-tuks. on cooking classes and camera lenses, on finding myself in places I never knew existed. But what remains is worth more than any inheritance. Courage, freedom, love. Not the kind that chains you down, but the kind that helps you fly. I'm going to Tyre's wedding. Not because I have to, but because I want to. I'm going to show them the woman I've become. A photographer, a traveller, a person who finally knows her own worth. And then I'm going to Barcelona, to start my new job, to continue this beautiful journey you helped me begin. Thank you for the permission to choose myself. I'll never stop choosing myself. Ready to head back? Bryson asked, packing up his gear. We've got that meeting with the monastery guide at noon. Almost. I took one last photo. Not of the mountains, but of my open journal next to my plane tickets to Barcelona. Just documenting the moment I realised something. What's that? The best revenge isn't living well. It's living truthfully. I stood up, shouldering my camera bag. Also, you're totally coming to this wedding as my date. Wouldn't miss it. He took my hand as we started down the trail. Think your sister will freak out when she realises her wedding photos might end up in an international travel blog? Probably. I squeezed his hand. But that's not why we're going. No? We're going because I'm finally ready to go home, not to stay, but to show them I never needed saving. I just needed to save myself. The morning sun warmed our backs as we descended, two wanderers planning our next adventure, while behind us the Himalayas stood witness to a story that had only just begun.
The weight of my father's funeral ring hung heavy on my right hand as I watched the last of the mourners file out of our family mansion. My name is Cynthia, and at 28, I never expected to be standing here, surrounded by empty champagne glasses and hollow condolences. Darling, you should really freshen up. Your mascara's running. Lexi's voice cut through my thoughts like a knife wrapped in silk. My stepmother stood in her perfectly tailored black dress, not a hair out of place despite the long day of performing grief. I'm fine, I replied, turning away from her practiced concern. The mansion felt different now, colder, emptier without Dad's booming laugh echoing through its halls. As you wish. She placed her hand on my shoulder, her diamond rings catching the light. We need to discuss the estate arrangements tomorrow. There are some financial matters that require immediate attention. Before I could respond, Mauricio, our butler of 20 years, appeared at my elbow. Miss Cynthia, might I have a word? In private. Lexi's perfectly manicured nails dug slightly into my shoulder before she released me. Of course, I'll be in the study if anyone needs me. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she retreated. Mauricio led me to the kitchen, his familiar presence somehow both comforting and unsettling. He glanced around before reaching into his jacket pocket. Your father asked me to give you this after the funeral. He handed me a sealed envelope, yellowed slightly with age. He was very specific about the timing. My hands trembled as I took it. When did he give this to you? 3 months ago, just before his diagnosis. Mauricio's eyes held something I couldn't quite read. He made me promise to ensure it reached you directly. I broke the seal, unfolding the letter with shaking fingers. Dad's distinctive handwriting filled the page. My dearest Cynthia, if you're reading this, I've failed to tell you the truth in person, and for that, I'm sorry. The mansion, our home, belongs to you. It always has, through a trust your mother established before she passed. Lexi doesn't know. The official will reading tomorrow will reveal everything, but I needed you to know first. Be careful, sweetheart. Watch the shadows. Love, Dad. Mauricio, did you know about this? I looked up, but his expression remained carefully neutral. I know many things, Miss Cynthia, including that Mrs. Bryant has been making calls to real estate agents this past week. A laugh bubbled up from my chest, hollow and bitter. She's trying to sell my house. Your stepmother has always been ambitious. Mauricio's voice dropped lower. But there's more you should know. The safe in your father's study. Cynthia! Francesca's voice rang out from the hallway. Where are you hiding? Mauricio stepped back smoothly as my best friend burst into the kitchen, her dark curls wild and her eyes concerned. I've been looking everywhere for you. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said automatically, then caught myself. Actually, no, I'm not fine at all. I glanced at Mauricio, who nodded almost imperceptibly before disappearing through the service door. Francesca grabbed my hands. Talk to me. What's going on? Dad left me a letter. I squeezed her fingers. The mansion is mine, Fran. All of it. And Lexi's been trying to sell it behind my back. That snake! Francesca's eyes widened. No wonder she's been hovering around that sleazy lawyer all day. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, we heard voices from the study, Lexi and a man whose tone I recognized instantly. Dan Parker, the family lawyer who'd once asked me out and never quite gotten over my rejection. The will reading is tomorrow, I whispered, tucking Dad's letter into my dress pocket. Let them plot. Tomorrow they'll learn that the house they're trying to sell isn't theirs to sell. Francesca squeezed my arm. Want me to stay tonight? I shook my head, straightening my shoulders. No, I need to face this alone. But first, I glanced toward the study. I think it's time to see what's in Dad's safe. Cynthia, Francesca warned, be careful. Oh, I will be. I smoothed down my black dress, Dad's ring catching the light. After all, I'm not the one who should be worried about losing everything. As I headed toward the study, my heels echoing against the floor my mother had chosen 30 years ago, I felt something shift inside me. Grief was still there, raw and real, but now it had company, determination, anger, and a fierce desire to protect what was mine. Let Lexi play her games. Tomorrow she'd learn exactly whose house she was living in. Your father always said this place had more secrets than a confessional, Francesca whispered, as we crept into Dad's study after midnight. The leather-bound books and heavy curtains cast strange shadows in the dim light of our phones. Help me move this painting. I reached for the massive landscape that had hung behind Dad's desk for as long as I could remember. My hands trembled slightly as we lifted it, revealing the wall safe I'd only glimpsed a handful of times throughout my life. Do you know the combination? Francesca asked. I smiled, remembering Dad's cryptic words years ago. My birthday, Mom's birthday, and the day they met. My fingers spun the dial with practiced precision, and the safe clicked open with a satisfying thunk. Inside, stacks of folders and documents filled the space. But what caught my eye was a USB drive labeled Insurance and a thick manila envelope with my name on it. Look at this. I pulled out a stack of photos. They showed Lexi at various cafes and restaurants, meeting with different men. The dates stamped on the backs went back 5 years, while Dad was still alive. Francesca peered over my shoulder. Is that Dan, your father's lawyer? And that's James from the investment firm. My stomach churned. Dad knew. He knew she was playing him. A floorboard creaked in the hallway. We froze. Quick, the safe! Francesca hissed. We scrambled to replace everything except the USB and the envelope with my name, closing the safe and barely managing to rehang the painting before the study door opened. Mauricio, I nearly collapsed with relief at the sight of our butler. Miss Cynthia, Mrs. Bryant is awake. She's asking for you. His eyes darted to the painting, then back to me. She's in the kitchen. At this hour? Francesca frowned. I'll handle it, I said, tucking the USB and envelope into my pocket. Fran, can you... I'll wait here, she nodded. Text if you need backup. The kitchen lights were harsh after the darkness of the study. Lexi sat at the island counter, wrapped in an expensive silk robe, nursing what looked like scotch. Couldn't sleep? She asked, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes sharp. I was just getting some water. I moved to the sink, keeping my back to her. We need to talk about tomorrow, darling. Ice clinked in her glass. Your father left some substantial debts. The mansion's upkeep alone. Really? I turned, leaning against the counter. That's interesting, considering Dad's last financial statement showed the estate was completely solvent. Her perfectly plucked eyebrows rose slightly. You've been going through his papers? Let's cut the act, Lexi. I pulled out my phone, pulling up the photos I'd just discovered. Care to explain these? The color drained from her face as she swiped through them. Where did you get these? Dad wasn't as oblivious as you thought. He knew about your meetings with Dan, with James, with all of them. My voice remained steady despite my racing heart. What were you planning? To sell the mansion as soon as the will was read? You don't understand anything. She stood, her robe swishing dramatically. Your father was sick long before his diagnosis. He was making terrible decisions, risking everything Everything you wanted, you mean? I stepped closer. Did you really think you'd get away with it? Her laugh was sharp and bitter. Get away with what? Being a concerned wife? Trying to protect our family's interests? You're just a child playing at being grown up. A child who owns this house. I watched the words hit her like a physical blow. That's right. Mom left it to me in a trust. Dad told me everything. You're lying. But her hand shook as she set down her glass. The will reading tomorrow will prove it. Every property document, every deed, they're all in my name. I moved toward the door. Sleep well, Lexi. You might want to start packing in the morning. You ungrateful little... She caught herself, forcing a smile. We can work something out, surely. We're family, after all. Family doesn't try to sell each other's homes behind their backs. I paused at the doorway. And family doesn't betray the people they claim to love. Back in the study, Francesca was pacing. Well, she knows. I pulled out the USB drive. But she doesn't know everything, not yet. I plugged it into Dad's computer, and folders of financial records, emails, and surveillance photos filled the screen. Your father was thorough, Francesca whispered. He was protecting me. I clicked through the files, each one revealing more of Lexi's schemes. And tomorrow, I'm going to use everything he left me to take back what's mine. What do you need me to do? I smiled, thinking of the look on Lexi's face when she realized she'd lost control. Call Raphael. We're going to need all the family support we can get for what comes next. The morning sun streamed through the mansion's windows as Raphael strode into the breakfast room, his presence immediately filling the space. My cousin had always been the family's voice of reason, and right now, I needed that more than ever. Little Sin, he said, wrapping me in a tight hug. I came as soon as I got Francesca's call. Show me everything. I spread the documents across the antique dining table. Bank statements, emails, surveillance photos. Raphael's expression darkened as he examined each piece of evidence. That conniving... He stopped mid-sentence as heels clicked on marble. Lexi appeared in the doorway, her face a mask of practiced concern. Raphael, what a lovely surprise. She moved to hug him, but he stepped back, positioning himself beside me. Her smile faltered for just a moment. Lexi, he nodded coldly, I hear you've been busy making plans for the estate. Someone has to think about practical matters. She perched on a chair across from us. Cynthia, darling, about our conversation last night. I've spoken with Dan, and he agrees we should discuss the outstanding debts immediately. What debts? Raphael's voice was sharp. The mortgage refinancing, the renovation loans. Lexi waved her hand dismissively. Your uncle made some unfortunate financial decisions in his final months. I pulled out my father's last bank statement. You mean these loans? The ones you took out in Dad's name while he was on heavy medication? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're implying. Stop lying. I slapped down copies of loan documents bearing signatures that clearly didn't match my father's usual handwriting. Did you really think Dad wouldn't notice? That he wouldn't protect himself, and me? Everything I did was for this family. Lexi's composure cracked. Your father was losing his grip, making terrible investments. Someone had to step in. By forging his signature? By meeting secretly with his lawyer to plan the sale of my house? I leaned forward. Yes, my house. Mom's trust made sure of that. The door opened again, and Dan walked in, his expensive suit failing to hide his discomfort when he saw Raphael. Am I interrupting something? He asked, hovering uncertainly. Perfect timing, Raphael said, standing. Care to explain why you've been helping Lexi arrange the sale of property she doesn't own? I don't know what you're talking about. Dan's eyes darted to Lexi. Mrs. Bryant asked for standard estate planning advice. Save it. I pulled out my phone, playing a recording from one of their cafe meetings. Their voices filled the room, discussing property values and potential buyers. You recorded us? Lexi's voice shook with rage. Dad did. I stopped the playback. He knew everything, Lexi. Every meeting, every forged document, every betrayal. This is ridiculous. Dan straightened his tie. These recordings won't hold up in court, but the forensic accounting report will. Raphael produced another folder. Along with the testimony from Dad's doctors about his mental state when these loans were taken out. Want to guess how that looks for both of you? Lexi stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. You ungrateful little bitch. After everything I've done for you. Done for me? I laughed. You mean trying to steal my inheritance? Plotting to sell my home? Using my father's illness to line your own pockets? You have no idea what it takes to maintain all this. She gestured wildly at our surroundings. Your precious mother's trust? It's barely enough to keep the lights on. Someone had to think about the future. Your future, you mean? I stood slowly. Well, think about this. You have 24 hours to pack your things and leave. After that, I'm calling the police. You can't do this to me. Her voice wavered between threat and plea. Actually, she can. Raphael placed a hand on my shoulder. The will reading this afternoon will make everything official, but make no mistake. You've lost, Lexi. The only question is how much dignity you'll have left when you walk out that door. Dan cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. There's nothing to discuss. I met his gaze steadily. You might want to contact the Bar Association yourself before I do. I hear they take a dim view of lawyers who help forge documents. He paled, backing toward the door. Lexi watched him go, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. 24 hours, I repeated. And Lexi, don't bother trying to take anything that isn't yours. Mauricio has a complete inventory of every item in this house. She opened her mouth to respond, but Raphael cut her off. I'd quit while you're ahead. You really don't want us looking any closer at those offshore accounts, do you? The mention of the accounts, something I hadn't even known about, made her flinch. Without another word, she turned and fled the room. Think she'll go quietly? I asked Raphael. He squeezed my shoulder. Not a chance. But don't worry, we're ready for whatever she tries next. Looking at the evidence spread across the table, I realized this was just the beginning. The real battle was still to come. The family gathered in the grand parlor for the will reading, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I sat between Raphael and Francesca, watching Lexi hold court on the opposite side of the room with Dan hovering nearby. She'd changed into a demure black dress, playing the grieving widow to perfection. Before we begin, the senior partner from Dad's law firm announced, I should note that Edward made some unusual requests regarding this reading. Lexi's perfectly painted smile flickered. Unusual how? He requested a video be played first. The lawyer nodded to his assistant, who set up a laptop and projector. My father's face filled the wall, healthy and strong as he'd been 6 months ago. The room fell silent. If you're watching this, Dad began, I'm no longer here to defend my choices, but I can explain them. He shifted in his chair. Lexi, my dear, you're probably wondering why I let you believe you'd inherit everything. The truth is, I needed to see how far you'd go. The color drained from her face as Dad continued. The surveillance photos, the recorded meetings, the forged documents. I know about all of it. Every scheme, every betrayal, every attempt to steal what rightfully belongs to my daughter. Gasps filled the room. Someone whispered, Oh my God. Cynthia, Dad's voice softened. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything while I could, but I needed proof. Proof that's now in the hands of my lawyers, the police, and the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Lexi shot to her feet. This is absurd. He was sick, delusional. Sit down, Raphael commanded. You'll want to hear the rest. On screen, Dad held up a familiar USB drive. Everything's here. The offshore accounts, the embezzlement from my company, the conspiracy with Dan Parker to falsify legal documents. Dan stumbled backward, his face ashen. I didn't. Save it, Francesca snapped. We have the recordings. My estate, Dad continued, including the mansion, was never mine to give away. It belongs to Cynthia through her mother's trust. A fact you discovered, Lexi, leading to your desperate attempts to sell it before this day. The video paused, and the lawyer stood. There's more, but first, I'm legally obligated to inform everyone that the FBI is currently executing search warrants at multiple locations, including Mr. Parker's office and Mrs. Bryant's private residence. You can't do this to me. Lexi's composure shattered completely. I made this family what it is. I kept everything running while he was dying. You mean while you were stealing from him? I stood, my voice steady. While you were forging his signature and plotting to sell my home. You ungrateful little, she lunged forward, but Raphael caught her arm. Don't make this worse for yourself, he warned. The lawyer cleared his throat. Shall we continue with the video? Dad's face reappeared, his eyes sad but determined. Lexi, I loved you once. I believed in you, but you chose greed over family, ambition over loyalty. The evidence has already been submitted to the authorities. By the time this video plays, your accounts will be frozen. No, she whispered, sinking into her chair. No, no, no. As for you, Dan. Dad's gaze seemed to fix directly on the trembling lawyer. I trusted you with my family's legal affairs. That trust was misplaced. The Bar Association has received a complete file of your activities. Dan bolted from the room, nearly knocking over the assistant. The rest of the will is straightforward, Dad concluded. Cynthia inherits everything, as her mother intended. The trust she's held since birth remains intact. And Lexi, he paused, you have 24 hours to leave the premises before trespassing charges are filed. The video ended. Silence filled the room until Lexi's laugh, high and brittle, shattered it. You think this is over? She turned to me, mascara smearing beneath her eyes. You have no idea how to run this estate, how to manage this kind of wealth. You'll fail, just like your mother would have. Don't you dare speak about my mother. I stepped closer, my voice low. You're not half the woman she was. She built this family's legacy. You tried to steal it. Security will escort Mrs. Bryant to collect her personal belongings, the lawyer announced. The FBI agents outside will want to speak with her afterward. As two men in suits appeared in the doorway, Lexi's facade crumbled completely. This isn't fair. You deserve prison, Raphael cut in. Be grateful if you only lose your money and your reputation. I watched as they led her away, her threats and protests fading down the hallway. Francesca squeezed my hand. You okay? No, I admitted, looking around the room where my family's drama had just imploded. But I will be. Dad made sure of that. The lawyer approached with a stack of documents. Miss Cynthia, there are some papers to sign. And... He lowered his voice. There's one more video. Private, for your eyes only. I nodded, feeling the weight of my father's final messages, his protection, his love. The battle wasn't over, but at least now I knew exactly what I was fighting for. The doorbell rang at midnight, 3 days after the will reading. I'd been curled up in Dad's study, reviewing financial documents, when Mauricio appeared in the doorway. Miss Cynthia, you have a visitor. His hesitation made me look up. It's your sister, Madeline. My half-sister, the one who'd cut ties with us years ago after a bitter fight with Dad. I hadn't seen her since. Send her in, I said, straightening my clothes. And Mauricio, stay close. Madeline swept into the room like a storm front, all designer clothes and sharp edges. She looked exactly like Lexi, her mother, but with Dad's eyes. Well, well, she said, dropping into a leather chair. Quite the show you put on with Mum the other day. Bravo. What do you want, Madeline? I remained behind Dad's desk, keeping the barrier between us. Can't a girl visit her sister? She examined her perfect manicure, especially when said sister just had their mutual stepmother arrested for fraud. Half-sister, I corrected. And Lexi wasn't arrested. She's under investigation. Same difference. Madeline leaned forward. Look, I know we're not close, but I have information you need to hear. About what? About Mum's plans. She's not done, you know. She's already meeting with lawyers in the city, planning her next move. I pulled out my phone, hitting record discreetly. And you know this how? Because she called me. A smile played at her lips. Wanted me to help her prove Dad was mentally incompetent when he made those videos. Offered me a cut of the estate if I testified. And I told her to go to hell. Madeline's smile vanished. Look, I may have left this family, but not because of Dad. I left because of her, because I saw what she was doing to him, to all of us. The study door opened again, and Raphael stepped in. I thought I heard your voice, Maddie. Raph. She stood to hug him, still playing big brother to everyone. Someone has to. He perched on the desk corner. Why are you really here? To warn you. She pulled out her phone, showing us text messages. Mum's not just planning legal action. She's desperate, dangerous. She's been contacting everyone who might have dirt on the family, trying to build a case to contest the will. She can't contest what was never hers, I said. No, but she can drag this family's name through the mud trying. Madeline sighed. Look, I know you have no reason to trust me, but I want to help. Why? I stood, moving around the desk. You haven't spoken to any of us in 3 years. Because I was wrong, okay? Her voice cracked slightly. I was young and stupid and angry, but watching Mom destroy this family, I can't stay silent anymore. Raphael and I exchanged looks. He gave a slight nod. What exactly do you know? I asked. Everything. Madeline pulled out a USB drive, similar to Dad's. Mom kept records of all her schemes. Insurance, she called it. I found them when I was cleaning out her condo last year. Why didn't you come forward then? Because Dad was still alive and I couldn't face him. She placed the drive on the desk. But he's gone now and you're in charge. You need to know what you're up against. I picked up the drive, turning it over in my hands. This could be a trap. It's not. She met my gaze steadily. Check the timestamps, the metadata. It's all authentic. And there's more. About Dan, about the offshore accounts, about her other victims. Other victims? Raphael straightened. Mum's done this before. 2 other marriages, 2 other families she nearly destroyed. She's not just a gold digger, she's a professional con artist. My hand shook as I plugged the drive into Dad's computer. Files populated the screen. Documents, photos, bank statements dating back 15 years. Jesus, Raphael muttered, scanning the contents. She's been doing this for decades. And now she's desperate, Madeline added. She's lost everything, her reputation, her money, her power. People like her don't just walk away from that. What do you suggest? I asked. Let me help. I know how she thinks, how she operates. And she hesitated. Maybe it's time to repair some bridges in this family. The room fell silent except for the hum of the computer. I studied my half-sister's face, looking for any sign of deception. Okay, I finally said, but if this is a game, it's not. She stood. I've spent 3 years regretting walking away from my family. I won't make that mistake again. Raphael cleared his throat. We should show this to the FBI. Tomorrow, I decided. Tonight, I think we need to hear everything Madeline knows, starting with what Lexi's planning next. As Madeline began to talk, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the calm before an even bigger storm. But this time, at least, I wasn't facing it alone. She's here, Mauricio announced, his normally stoic expression tight with concern. Mrs. Bryant is at the front gate, demanding entry. I glanced at the security feed on my laptop. Lexi stood outside in a perfectly tailored suit, flanked by 2 men who screamed, "Lawyer," from their expensive shoes to their briefcases. Let her in, I said, straightening my father's ring on my finger. It's time to end this. Madeline touched my arm. Are you sure about this? Positive. I looked around the study where we'd gathered. Raphael, Francesca, Madeline, and our family lawyer. Everyone knows their part. They nodded as Lexi's heels clicked down the hallway, getting closer. The door burst open, and there she stood, somehow looking both immaculate and unhinged. Well, isn't this cozy? Her gaze swept the room, lingering on Madeline. My own daughter, conspiring with the enemy. How dramatic. Save it, Mom, Madeline said. We know everything. Do you? Lexi's laugh was brittle. You think your little USB drive tells the whole story. You have no idea what really happened in this family. I stood, moving to the front of Dad's desk. Then enlighten us. Your father was weak, she spat. He would have lost everything if I hadn't stepped in. Those investments I made, they saved this family's fortune. You mean the illegal transfers to offshore accounts? Raphael held up a stack of documents. The ones you made while he was on heavy medication. Everything I did was legal, one of her lawyers interjected. Mrs. Bryant had power of attorney. A forged power of attorney, our family lawyer corrected, sliding forward another document. The neurologist's report confirms Edward was fully competent when he revoked it 3 months before his death. Lexi's composure cracked slightly. This is ridiculous. I demand. You demand nothing. I pulled out an envelope. This is an official eviction notice. You have 1 hour to leave the premises, or the police will remove you. You ungrateful little bitch. She lunged forward, but Raphael stepped between us. I gave you everything. I raised you after your precious mother died. You mean after you convinced Dad to send me to boarding school? I kept my voice steady. After you systematically isolated him from everyone who could expose your schemes? You have no proof. Actually, Madeline interrupted, we do. She opened her laptop, playing a video of Lexi meeting with Dan in a hotel room, plotting their next move. Where did you get that? Lexi's face went white. From your own records, Mom. You really should change your passwords occasionally. The lawyers exchanged glances, one of them already backing toward the door. Mrs. Bryant, he said carefully, you didn't mention these complications when you retained us, because they're lies. She whirled on him. All of it, fabricated by an ungrateful child who owns this house? I cut in. Who has proof of your fraud, your conspiracies, and your previous cons? Yes, we know about the other families too. Her other lawyer cleared his throat. I believe we should continue this discussion after consulting with our ethics board. Cowards! Lexi screamed as they hurried out. You can't do this to me. I made this family. No, I stepped closer. You nearly destroyed it. But Dad saw through you. He protected me, protected everything, while you dug your own grave. I'll fight this, she hissed. I'll tell everyone what really goes on in this family. Every dirty secret, every scandal. Go ahead. Francesca spoke up from the corner. The press would love to hear about your history of marrying wealthy men and bleeding them dry. I'm sure your previous victims would be happy to comment. Lexi's gaze darted around the room, finding no allies. Madeline, she tried, voice softening. Sweetheart, you can't believe these lies about your own mother. Save it, Madeline stood. I've spent years ashamed of walking away from this family. Now I'm ashamed I didn't expose you sooner. Security is waiting, Mauricio announced from the doorway. Shall I escort Mrs. Bryant out? This isn't over, Lexi snarled, backing toward the door. You think you've won? You have no idea what's coming. Actually, I held up my phone. The FBI does. They're very interested in those offshore accounts, and the evidence of money laundering, and the forged documents. Her face crumpled for just a moment before the mask slipped back into place. You'll regret this, all of you. Goodbye, Lexi. I watched as security appeared to escort her out. Don't bother trying to contact us. Your lawyers can talk to ours. As her protests faded down the hallway, Madeline let out a shaky breath. That's not the end. No, I agreed, watching Lexi's retreating figure on the security feed. But it's the beginning of the end. Raphael squeezed my shoulder. We'll be ready for whatever she tries next. Looking around at my unlikely alliance, my half-sister, my cousin, my best friend, I finally felt the weight of Dad's words sink in. He hadn't just left me an inheritance. He'd left me a family, stronger than ever. The call came at 3 a.m., jolting me awake. Madeline's voice crackled through the phone, tense and urgent. Mum's making her move. She's filed an emergency injunction, claiming Dad was mentally incompetent. The hearing's in 2 hours. I bolted upright. 2 hours? That's not possible. The courts don't... She's got a judge in her pocket, Madeline cut in. Judge Harrison. They're old friends, apparently. I'm on my way. Raphael's voice joined the call. Already called our lawyers. Meet at the courthouse in an hour. I threw on clothes while dialing Francesca. Within 45 minutes, our entire team had assembled on the courthouse steps. Dawn was just breaking, casting long shadows across the empty plaza. Here they come, Francesca muttered. Lexi strode toward us, flanked by new lawyers and, my stomach dropped, Dan Parker. She'd traded her designer suits for a modest black dress, playing the grieving widow perfectly. Last chance, she called out. Drop this ridiculous vendetta, and we can work something out. Like you worked things out with your previous husbands? Madeline stepped forward. How many families have you destroyed, Mom? I'm trying to protect this family's legacy. Lexi's voice rose. Your father was sick, making irrational decisions. Is that what you told Judge Harrison? I interrupted. The same judge who vacationed with you in the Caymans last year. Her step faltered. How did you... We found the photos, Raphael said, holding up his phone. Along with the offshore account transfers. Interesting timing, right before he handled your divorce from husband number 2. The courthouse doors opened, and a clerk emerged. The judge will see you now. Inside the courtroom, tension crackled as both sides took their positions. Judge Harrison, a stern-faced man in his 60s, peered down at us. Mrs. Bryant, he began, you claim Edward was mentally incompetent when he made these videos and changed his will. Yes, Your Honor. Lexi dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. The medication affected his judgment. He became paranoid, making wild accusations. Like these? I nodded to our lawyer, who projected images onto the courtroom screen. Photos of Lexi meeting Judge Harrison, bank statements showing suspicious transfers. The judge's face darkened. What is the meaning of this? The meaning, Your Honor, our lawyer stepped forward, is that we have evidence of judicial misconduct, and we've already submitted it to the State Ethics Board. This is outrageous. Lexi's lawyer jumped up. These accusations are supported by extensive documentation, Madeline interrupted, walking forward with a thick folder, including records of your private meetings with my mother to coordinate this emergency hearing. Judge Harrison's hands gripped his gavel tightly. I will not be blackmailed. No blackmail, I said clearly. Just the truth, about Lexi's pattern of fraud, about your role in covering up her previous cases, about everything. I moved to dismiss. Lexi's lawyer started. Sit down, Dan suddenly spoke up. All eyes turned to him. It's over, Lexi. I'm not perjuring myself for you. Dan, she whirled on him. After everything we did was illegal, he said tiredly, and I've already given my statement to the FBI. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Lexi lunged at Dan, her carefully constructed facade shattering completely. Security rushed forward as she screamed accusations and threats. Order! Judge Harrison slammed his gavel, but his authority had evaporated. 2 men in suits entered the courtroom, badges visible. Judge Harrison, one announced, we need you to come with us. And Mrs. Bryant, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and attempted judicial manipulation. As they led Lexi away in handcuffs, she fixed me with a venomous glare. You think this is victory? You've destroyed everything. No, I replied calmly. You did that yourself. Every scheme, every lie, every betrayal, those were your choices. Mrs. Bryant, the FBI agent interrupted, you have the right to remain silent. I'll never be silent, she shrieked as they escorted her out. This family will regret this, all of you. In the sudden quiet of the courtroom, Madeline touched my arm. You okay? I watched through the window as they led my stepmother to a waiting car, Judge Harrison following in separate custody. I think I finally am. It's really over, Francesca whispered. Almost, Raphael corrected. We still need to clean up the mess, the legal challenges, the press, the financial tangles. We'll handle it, I said, feeling stronger than I had in weeks. Together. As we walked out of the courthouse, reporters swarmed, shouting questions. But for the first time since Dad's death, I felt no fear, no uncertainty, just clarity. Miss Cynthia, one reporter called out, any comment on your stepmother's arrest? I paused on the steps, my family flanking me. Just this, the truth always comes out. No matter how long it takes, no matter who tries to bury it, justice finds a way. The autumn breeze rustled through the mansion's gardens as I unlocked the front door, letting Madeline in with her boxes. After Lexi's conviction and sentencing, 15 years for fraud and conspiracy, my half-sister had finally agreed to move back home. Still feels strange being here, she said, setting down a box in the foyer. Good strange, but strange. Miss Cynthia, Mauricio appeared with perfect timing. The investigators have finished with the safe room. They found something you should see. We followed him to Dad's study, where Raphael already waited with Francesca. On the desk lay a leather-bound journal I'd never seen before. It was hidden behind a false panel, Raphael explained. Your mother's diary. My hands trembled as I opened it. Mom's elegant handwriting filled the pages, including a letter dated just before her death. Read it out loud, Francesca urged softly. I cleared my throat. My dearest Cynthia, if you're reading this, you've finally discovered the truth about our home, your inheritance, and hopefully your own strength. I created the trust not just to protect our family's wealth, but to protect you from those who would exploit it. Your father knows my wishes. The mansion isn't just a house. It's a testament to love, family, and perseverance. I built it from nothing, just as you'll need to rebuild after I'm gone. Trust your instincts, trust your true family, and most importantly, trust yourself. All my love, Mom. She knew, Madeline whispered. Somehow she knew someone like my mother would come along. A knock at the study door made us turn. Dan stood there, looking uncomfortable in casual clothes rather than his usual suit. The FBI finished interviewing me, he said. I've told them everything, about Lexi's previous cons, about Judge Harrison's involvement, all of it. Why did you help her in the first place? I asked. He sighed, leaning against the doorframe. Because I was stupid and greedy, and because she convinced me you'd never be capable of running the estate yourself. He met my eyes. I was wrong, about everything. Yes, you were. I stood. The Bar Association's decision. Disbarred, as expected. I'll be testifying against the other conspirators next week. Good. I gestured to Mauricio. Show him out, please. As Dan left, Raphael picked up Mom's diary. Your mother was an incredible woman. This journal, it's full of business strategies, family history, even warnings about people like Lexi. She built an empire, Francesca added, while everyone underestimated her, just like they underestimated you. The doorbell rang, and Mauricio returned moments later with a delivery. The new security system, Miss Cynthia, and the contractor is here about the renovations. Go, Madeline smiled. Be the lady of the house. We'll help unpack my things. In the entrance hall, I found myself staring at the family portrait, Dad, Mom, me as a child. The space where Lexi's portrait had hung was now empty, waiting for a new family photo. Miss Cynthia, the contractor waited patiently. About the changes you wanted. Yes, I turned to him. We'll restore everything to its original design. My mother's design. But with some modern upgrades. And the East Wing? He checked his notes. Converting it to a women's shelter? Exactly. My mother built this house to protect her family. Now it's going to protect others too. Later that evening, we gathered in the garden, Madeline, Raphael, Francesca, even Mauricio joining us with glasses of champagne. To new beginnings, Raphael proposed. And old wisdom, I added, thinking of Mom's journal. And family, Madeline raised her glass. Real family. The setting sun painted the mansion's windows gold, just as it had when Mom first designed it. I could almost hear her voice in the evening breeze, approving of everything we'd accomplished. You know, Francesca said, your story's been trending online. Daughter outsmarts gold-digging stepmother. People are calling you an inspiration. They're calling her a badass, Madeline corrected with a laugh. I just did what Mum would have done, I said. Protected what matters. Protected family. Speaking of protection, Raphael pulled out his phone, showing us a news alert. Lexi's previous victims are coming forward. Looks like she'll be facing more charges. Good. I stood, walking to the garden's edge where Mom's favorite roses still bloomed. Let her face everything she's done. We're done living in her shadow. To karma, Madeline raised her glass again. To justice, Raphael added. To family, I finished, feeling the weight of Mom's ring on my finger, Dad's watch on my wrist. The real kind. As night fell over the mansion, our home, I finally felt at peace. Not because of victory or revenge, but because I'd discovered what Mom knew all along. True strength comes from protecting what you love, and real family stands together, no matter what storms come.
The thing about revenge is that it tastes better when served on Aunt Linda's favourite Christmas china. I would know. I'm eating my third slice of pecan pie from it right now, watching her face twist into that familiar grimace of disapproval from across the living room. My name is Sienna, and I'm what my family loves to call the disappointment. You know, the one who wastes time on the internet all day while my perfect cousin Sarah teaches 4th grade and raises 2 Instagram-worthy children. Sienna, darling, Aunt Linda's voice cuts through the holiday music, sharp as a knife. Still doing that little blogging thing of yours? I take another deliberate bite of pie. Something like that. Well, thank goodness Sarah was able to get you those freelance projects last spring, she continues, loud enough for everyone to hear. At least you're making some money now. The room grows quiet, waiting for my response. My mother Charlotte pretends to adjust the Christmas tree ornaments, while my sister Reese suddenly becomes fascinated with her phone. They've perfected the art of looking busy during these moments. Actually, Sarah chimes in, bouncing her youngest on her knee, Avery's firm might have some social media work available. Nothing major, but it could help you build a real portfolio. I catch Avery flinching slightly at the mention of his name. Interesting. That's so thoughtful of you, Sarah, Aunt Linda beams, always looking out for others. Unlike some people who can't even be bothered to bring a proper dish to Christmas dinner. I glance at my store-bought pie on the counter, then back at my aunt. The pie seemed appropriate, considering. Considering what, dear? Considering it's my house. The silence that follows is delicious. Better than the pie, even. What do you mean, your house? Sarah's perfect posture suddenly stiffens. I reach into my bag and pull out a folder. I mean, I bought this place 3 months ago when the bank was foreclosing on it. Cash offer. Aunt Linda's wine glass freezes halfway to her lips. That's impossible. This house has been in our family for 28 years, I finish for her, until the mortgage payment stopped being made. Funny how nobody mentioned that during last year's Christmas gathering. My mother finally turns from the tree. Sienna, if this is some kind of joke, the deed's right here, I say, sliding the papers across the coffee table. Along with the updated insurance policies and property tax statements, all in my name. Avery grabs the papers first, his lawyer eyes scanning quickly. His face goes pale. She's telling the truth. But how? Reese finally looks up from her phone. That little blogging thing of mine? I stand up, collecting empty plates because apparently being the owner doesn't excuse you from cleanup duty. It pays better than you'd think. The room erupts into chaos. Sarah's crying. Aunt Linda's demanding explanations. My mother's trying to mediate, but I just keep clearing dishes, humming Silent Night under my breath. You can't just... What gives you the right? Aunt Linda sputters. I pause at the kitchen doorway. Actually, I can. And starting now, there are going to be some new house rules. Rules? Sarah scoffs. Who do you think you are? Someone who's tired of being your family's punching bag. I turn to face them all. Anyone who can't show basic respect won't be invited back. Simple as that. You wouldn't dare. Aunt Linda stands shaking. This house is for family. Exactly. I smile. And family doesn't spend years mocking someone's career choices while secretly begging for their professional favours. Right, Avery? He nearly drops his whiskey glass. What is she talking about? Sarah turns to her husband, but I'm already heading upstairs to my bedroom, the master suite naturally. Let them stew in that for a while. After all, I've got a few more surprises planned for this holiday gathering. Behind me, I hear Yolanda, the ever-present family friend, whisper loudly to my mother, "Did you know about any of this?" No, they didn't know. They never bothered to ask. Too busy assuming I was failing to notice I was building an empire. Too occupied with Sarah's perfect life to see the cracks in her facade. Too convinced of their own superiority to realise they were dining, drinking, and sleeping in a house I now owned. I close my bedroom door and pull out my phone. One new message from Flynn, my business partner. "Did you do it?" "Just dropped the first bomb," I text back. Wait until they find out about the envelope in the study addressed to Avery. I lay back on my bed in my house, and listen to the muffled arguments below. The best part? This is just the beginning. By New Year's, they'll wish all I'd done was buy their precious vacation home. Sometimes, revenge is a dish best served on fine china, with a side of real estate paperwork. Morning in my new mountain house brings the smell of coffee and tension. I find everyone gathered in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones that stop abruptly when I enter. Aunt Linda's already dressed for the day, armour-like in her cashmere sweater set. "Sleep well?" I ask, reaching for a mug. "The master suite has an amazing view. We need to discuss this situation," Aunt Linda says, gripping her own coffee cup like she might throw it. "Properly? Like adults?" "Sure." I settle at the head of the table, my table now. Let's start with the new house rules. "Sienna," my mother interrupts, "perhaps we should wait for everyone." "I'm here," Sarah announces, dragging in with dark circles under her eyes. Avery trails behind her, looking like he hasn't slept at all. "Perfect timing," I say. I was just about to explain how things will work going forward. "You mean how you're going to blackmail us?" Sarah snaps. I raise an eyebrow. "Blackmail? I'm just setting boundaries. Unless there's something you're worried about me sharing." Avery suddenly develops an intense interest in his coffee. "First rule," I continue. "No more comments about my career choices. No more little blogging thing or playing on the internet. Second, no more volunteering me for freelance work I never asked for." "Those were attempts to help you," Aunt Linda protests. "Really? Like when you told the Wilsons I was desperate for work at Sarah's birthday party, or when you warned that marketing firm about my reliability issues." The colour drains from her face. "How did you—" "I have screenshots." I pull out my phone. "Would you like to see them? The timestamps are particularly interesting." Reese clears her throat. "Sienna, maybe we should—" "Third rule," I press on. "No more comparing me to Sarah. No more perfect cousin narrative." "You're just jealous," Sarah bursts out. "You've always been jealous of my normal, stable life." I laugh, and it sounds hollow even to me. "Normal? Stable? Should we talk about what I found in the study last night?" Avery's coffee cup clatters against its saucer. "What did you find?" my mother asks. "Just an envelope?" I reach into my pocket and pull it out. "Addressed to Avery George, from Sienna Inc. Limited." My company. Sarah turns to her husband. What is she talking about? It's nothing, Avery stammers. Just some old business correspondence. 2 rejected licensing requests, I correct him, and a cease and desist letter. Want to tell them why, or should I? The room goes still. Even Yolanda, who's been pretending to read a magazine in the corner, leans forward. Avery? Sarah's voice shakes. What did you do? He tried to steal one of my campaigns, I say when he remains silent. Twice. The second time he actually used it, just changed the colours and hoped nobody would notice. Want to guess how many zeros were in the settlement cheque his firm had to write? You're lying, Aunt Linda stands up. Sarah, she's lying. No, Avery whispers. She's not! Sarah pushes back from the table so hard her chair tips over. You told me that campaign was your idea. My school's entire fundraising strategy was based on it. I was desperate, he pleads. We were behind on the mortgage, and your mother kept pressuring us about having another baby. Behind on the mortgage? Aunt Linda interrupts. But you said... He lied, I cut in. Just like he lied about creating that campaign. Just like you all lie about how perfect everything is. My mother stands up slowly. Sienna, that's enough. No, it's not. I pull out my laptop. Want to see what my little blogging thing really looks like? My company's valuation? The brands I work with? I turn the screen around, showing them my company's homepage, the client list, the press features, the numbers. That's impossible, Aunt Linda whispers. That's what happens when you're actually good at what you do, I reply. Instead of just pretending. Sarah's crying now, mascara running. Avery's trying to touch her shoulder, but she keeps jerking away. My mother's frozen in place, staring at my laptop screen. Reese is texting frantically, probably warning her friends about the impending family meltdown. I will be in my office, I announce, standing up. You know, the room where I found evidence of Avery's plagiarism. Feel free to process this however you need to. Just remember, my house, my rules. As I leave, I hear Yolanda's stage whisper. Did anyone else know she was some kind of millionaire? I smile as I climb the stairs. Let them stew in that revelation for a while. I've got a few more bombs to drop before this holiday's over. Opening the office door, I spot something new on the desk. A USB drive I definitely didn't leave there. The label reads, For Sienna, thought you should know what else they've been hiding. Well, isn't this turning out to be an interesting Christmas after all? The USB drive sits heavy in my palm as my office door creaks open. It's Reese, looking like she's about to attend a funeral rather than continue our family Christmas. Can we talk? She asks, closing the door behind her. Depends. Are you here as my sister or Sarah's spy? She winces. That's not fair. Neither was watching everyone treat me like garbage for years while you stayed silent. I pocket the USB drive. But, sure, let's talk. You need to tone this down, she says, perching on the edge of my desk. Mum's having a breakdown downstairs, Sarah's threatening legal action, and Aunt Linda is finally getting what she deserves, is calling her lawyer. Reese runs a hand through her hair. This isn't you, Sienna, all this revenge stuff. A knock interrupts us. It's Avery, looking like he aged 10 years overnight. Can I have a moment? He asks. No, Reese answers. Yes, I counter. Reese, give us the room. She leaves reluctantly, shooting me a warning look. Avery closes the door and remains standing, like a student in the principal's office. I can explain about the campaign, he starts. Save it. I have the email trail showing exactly how you stole my work. You don't understand. Sarah's job... We'll be fine, I cut him off, unless you keep lying. Then I'll have to show the school board everything. His facade cracks. Please. We have kids. Should have thought about that before committing intellectual property theft. I lean back in my chair. Twice. My phone buzzes. A text from Flynn. Your tweet about family secrets is trending. Want me to amplify? No, I text back. Not yet. What do you want? Avery asks. Money. I laugh. I have money. What I want is for everyone to stop pretending, starting with you. Meaning? Tell Sarah the truth about everything. I tap my computer screen, including the other licensing requests your firm made, the ones in March, May, September. He pales. How did you? I own the company you've been desperately trying to work with. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? A commotion downstairs interrupts us. Raised voices, something shattering. We both rush to the door. In the living room, Sarah stands amid broken china. Aunt Linda's precious Christmas plates scattered across the floor. How long have you known? She's screaming at my mother. How long have you all been lying to me? Known what? I ask, descending the stairs. About her perfect daughter's perfect marriage. Yolanda pipes up from her corner. I just showed her the photos. My stomach drops. The USB drive suddenly feels like it's burning a hole in my pocket. What photos? Avery demands. Sarah whirls on him. Don't pretend you don't know. The receipts, the hotel bookings, the other woman. That's enough, Aunt Linda shouts. Sarah, darling, you're upset. Upset. You knew my husband was cheating and said nothing, all while criticizing Sienna for being single. I catch Yolanda's eye. She gives me a slight nod. So, that's who left the USB drive. I was trying to protect you, Aunt Linda pleads. Like you protected me? I step into the chaos. By sabotaging my business connections, by spreading rumors about my work ethic. I never save it. I pull out my phone. Flynn, remember that email Linda sent trying to tank our Johnson contract? Send it to my personal email, now. Sienna, Reese warns, don't. Why not? Isn't it time everyone saw the truth? About Sarah's perfect marriage? About Aunt Linda's interference? About all of it? My mother steps forward. Please, we can discuss this privately. Like you discussed my future privately? Making decisions about my career, my life, all behind my back? I did what I thought was best, she whispers. Best for who? I demand. Best for Sarah? For Aunt Linda? It certainly wasn't best for me. My phone chimes with Flynn's email. The room holds its breath as I open it. Shall I read it out loud? I ask. Dear Mr. Johnson, I feel compelled to warn you about my niece's company. Stop, Aunt Linda begs. Why? Isn't this what family does? Share everything? Or does that only apply when you're sharing my failures? Sarah's still crying, Avery's frozen in place, and my mother looks like she might faint. Only Yolanda seems calm, watching it all unfold like her favourite soap opera. Check your phones, I announce. I just shared access to a drive containing everything. Every email, every rumour, every lie. Read it all. Then we'll talk about who deserves protection. As notifications start pinging around the room, I head back upstairs. Behind me, I hear Reese ask quietly, What have you done? What have I done? I've finally turned the tables. Now they all get to feel what it's like to have their secrets exposed, their lives dissected, their failures displayed. The question is, what will they do about it? The afternoon sun casts long shadows through the house as everyone retreats to separate corners to digest the revelations. I'm in the kitchen when Sarah finds me, her eyes red but her spine straight. We need to talk, she says, closing the door behind her. About your husband's plagiarism or his affair? About how you're destroying this family. She sits across from me. Please, Sienna, if you ever cared about any of us, that's rich coming from you. I pour myself a coffee. Want to talk about Christmas 2009? What? When you got that full scholarship to grad school and I got re-gifted bath products. That was years ago. Or last Thanksgiving, when you told everyone my business was cute, while your husband was secretly begging my company for contracts. She flinches. I didn't know about that. You didn't know a lot of things, did you? Too busy being perfect. Is that what this is about? She leans forward. Revenge because I had the life you wanted? I laugh so hard I nearly spill my coffee. The life I wanted? Sarah, I make more money in a month than you and Avery see in a year. I have offices in 3 cities. I work with brands you can't afford to shop at. Then why all this? She gestures around. Why buy this house? Why expose everything? Because you all needed to learn. The kitchen door bursts open. It's Avery, waving his phone. You leaked it? You actually leaked it? Leaked what? Sarah asks. The plagiarism story. It's all over Twitter. The school board is calling emergency meetings. I check my phone. Sure enough, shows Avery gate plagiarism is trending locally. But I didn't leak it. That wasn't me, I say. Liar, he shouts. Who else would Masu? I did it, Yolanda announces from the doorway. Someone had to. Sarah stands so quickly, her chair falls backward. You? But you're my mother's best friend. I'm also on the school board, Yolanda replies calmly, and we take academic integrity very seriously. My phone buzzes. A text from Flynn. Someone's trying to access our servers from inside the house. I look up sharply. Where's Reese? In her room. Why? Sarah asks. But I'm already moving, taking the stairs 2 at a time. I find my sister hunched over her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Looking for something? I ask from the doorway. She jumps, slamming the laptop shut. I was just trying to hack my company's servers. Again? Her face crumples. I had to know if you had dirt on me too. You mean, besides the fact that you told Aunt Linda about my company years ago? That you helped her sabotage my deals? I was trying to help. She stands up. I thought if they knew how successful you were, they'd finally accept you. No, I step closer. You thought if you helped Sarah get influencer connections through my company, they'd finally notice you too. The truth hits her like a slap. Tears well up in her eyes. I'm sorry, she whispers. Save it. I hold out my hand. Give me the laptop. She hands it over just as shouting erupts from downstairs. We rush down to find Aunt Linda facing off with Yolanda in the living room. How dare you? Linda screams. After everything I've done for you. You mean after everything I've covered up for you? Yolanda fires back. The embezzlement from the PTA? The affair with the principal that got Sarah her job? The room goes deadly quiet. What? Sarah's voice is barely audible. Oh, yes, Yolanda continues. Your perfect teaching position? Your mother slept with Principal Roberts to secure it, right after Avery's plagiarism nearly cost you the interview. My mother sinks onto the couch. Linda, tell me you didn't... But Aunt Linda's face says it all. That's why you pushed so hard for me to take that job, Sarah realizes. Why you insisted I stay, even when I wanted to quit. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself. Everything I did was for you, Linda protests. No, I interrupt. Everything you did was for your reputation. Sarah was just your prop. Like you're any better? Reese challenges from behind me. Look what you're doing to all of us. I'm showing you the truth. All of it. No more perfect family fantasy. My phone buzzes again. Flynn sent a link to a viral post. Tech CEO exposes family's web of lies in holiday showdown. It's going viral, I announce. All of it. The plagiarism, the affairs, the lies. Welcome to transparency, everyone. Aunt Linda collapses into a chair. Sarah's staring at her mother like she's never seen her before. Avery's already on the phone with what sounds like his lawyer. And me? I'm finally seeing my family clearly for the first time. The question is, What do I do with them now? The house feels like a war zone. Sarah's locked herself in her room. Avery's pacing the porch, having intense phone conversations with his law firm. Aunt Linda's disappeared entirely, and I'm in my office watching my revenge go viral. A soft knock at the door. Sienna? It's my mother. Come to defend Aunt Linda some more. She enters anyway, looking older than I've ever seen her. No, I came to tell you something I should have said years ago. Save it. I'm not interested in... I was wrong. She sits down heavily. About everything. About you. I keep my eyes on my laptop screen. Bit late for that, isn't it? Do you remember when you were 12? She asks. When you built that website for your father's restaurant? The one that crashed and lost all his reservations? I scoff. How could I forget? You didn't let me touch a computer for months after. It didn't crash, she says quietly. Linda sabotaged it. My fingers freeze over the keyboard. What? She hired someone to hack it. She said it was for your own good. That you needed to learn computers weren't a real career. The room spins slightly. And you let her? I was weak, she admits. After your father left, Linda became our safety net. She paid our bills, got you and Reese into good schools. I felt obligated. So you sacrificed me to keep her happy? I sacrificed everything to keep her happy. My mother's voice cracks, including my own daughter's trust. My phone buzzes. Another text from Flynn. Someone leaked your old website designs, the ones from when you were a kid. They're incredible. Twitter's going crazy. That was you? I look at my mother. She nods. I kept everything. Every website, every design. I was proud, even when I couldn't show it. Before I can respond, Reese bursts in. You need to see this. She holds up her phone. It's a Twitter thread from Aunt Linda, attempting damage control. My niece's accusations are false. She's always been jealous of her cousin's success. Keep reading, Reese urges. I scroll down. Linda's trying to paint me as unstable, claiming I'm having a breakdown. But the responses are not what she expected. Wait, isn't this the woman who sabotaged her niece's childhood business? Found the aunt's old emails to my company. She tried to blacklist a literal child. Someone archived this before she deletes. It's backfiring, Reese explains. People are digging up everything. The PTA scandal, the school board corruption, all of it. My mother stands up. I need to talk to Linda. No, I grab her arm. Let her dig her own grave. Another commotion downstairs. This time it's Sarah, finally emerged from her room. We find her in the living room, facing off with Yolanda. Tell me everything, Sarah demands. Every lie, every scheme. I want to know all of it. Yolanda settles into her chair like a queen about to hold court. Where should I start? Your mother's affairs? The rigged school board elections? Or maybe how she convinced your cousin's biggest client to drop her 3 years ago? That was her. I step forward. The Maxwell account? Why do you think they suddenly pulled out after nearly signing? Linda told them you were under federal investigation. The room spins again. That account would have made my company's reputation years earlier. Instead, I had to build everything from scratch, client by client. I knew it, Reese whispers. I saw her making those calls, but she said she was helping you network. Sarah sinks onto the couch. My whole life is built on lies. Not lies, Aunt Linda announces from the doorway. Protection. Everything I did was to protect this family. By destroying mine? I turn to face her. By sabotaging my career, my childhood dreams. You were going to fail, she shouts. Just like your father, I had to make sure at least one of you succeeded. I did succeed. I step closer. Despite you, despite everything you did to stop me. And now You're ruining everything out of spite. No, my mother interrupts. You ruined everything. With your lies, your manipulation, your need to control everyone. Linda's face contorts. After everything I've done for you. You mean to us. Sarah stands up. Everything you've done to us. My phone buzzes again. Flynn sent another message. Your childhood website designs are trending. People are calling you a prodigy. Want me to release the Maxwell emails? I look at Aunt Linda, at her crumbling facade of superiority, at Sarah finally seeing her mother clearly, at my own mother, decades of compliance giving way to clarity. No, I text back. I don't need to release anything else. They're doing it themselves. Because that's the thing about lies. Once you start unraveling them, they don't stop until everything's exposed. And watching Aunt Linda's carefully constructed world collapse around her is better than any revenge I could have planned. So, I address the room. Who wants to tell the truth first? The next morning, I wake to my phone exploding with notifications. Overnight, someone leaked the full email exchange between Aunt Linda and the Maxwell account. The internet is having a field day. Did you do this? I text Flynn. Wasn't me, he replies. Check your sister's Instagram. Reese has posted a lengthy statement, complete with screenshots. For years, I watched my aunt destroy my sister's career opportunities. Time to set the record straight. A knock at my door. It's Sarah, looking like she hasn't slept. Your story is trending on LinkedIn, she says, entering without waiting for permission. The school board is reviewing my position. Worried about losing your perfect job? I already quit. She sits on the edge of my bed. Called them this morning, told them everything about how I got the position. I wasn't expecting that. Why? Because I'm tired of living a lie. She runs her hands through her unwashed hair. Did you know I hate teaching? I've hated it for years, but Linda said it was perfect for you. I finish. Everything in my life was what she said was perfect for me. Sarah laughs bitterly. Perfect job, perfect husband, perfect kids, perfect prison. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a news alert. Tech CEO exposes family's web of deception. Full story inside. They want to interview me, I tell Sarah. Do it, she says immediately. Tell everything. Even about Avery. Especially about Avery. Her voice hardens. He's downstairs right now, trying to convince Mum to help pay for a PR firm. As if on cue, raised voices float up from below. We head downstairs to find Avery and Aunt Linda facing off in the kitchen. You promised to handle this, he's shouting. You said if I took that job, played the perfect husband. Keep your voice down, Linda hisses, then spots us. Girls, we were just discussing more lies, I ask pleasantly. Please, don't stop on our account. What job? Sarah demands. What are you talking about? Avery deflates. The teaching position wasn't the only thing your mother arranged. My partnership at the firm, she owns shares in the company. Had to make sure Sarah had the right kind of husband, I say. Isn't that right, Aunt Linda? I did what was necessary, she starts, but Sarah cuts her off. Necessary? Was it necessary to make me marry someone who doesn't love me, to force me into a career I hate, to destroy Sienna's chances at success? I built you a perfect life. You built a house of cards, I correct her, and now it's falling down. My phone rings. It's Flynn. The morning shows want you, he says when I answer. All of them. Your story's going nuclear. Book them all, I say, putting the phone on speaker. Every single one. Sienna, my mother calls from the doorway. Don't do this. Why not? Afraid people will learn what really happened to Dad's restaurant. How you chose Linda's money over your own family. That's not... She stops, takes a breath. You're right. I did choose wrong. But this public destruction is exactly what they deserve. Yolanda appears behind her. Let her tell the truth, Charlotte. God knows someone needs to. My phone keeps buzzing with notifications. The story's spreading faster than wildfire. Family Gate is trending. People are sharing their own stories of family betrayal and manipulation. I'm going on air, I announced to the room. I'm going to tell everything. The sabotage, the lies, the manipulation, every single detail. You'll destroy us, Aunt Linda whispers. No, Sarah steps forward. You destroyed us. Sienna's just exposing the wreckage. Avery starts to speak, but Sarah holds up a hand. Save it for your lawyers. I'll have divorce papers drawn up by tomorrow. Sarah? Linda reaches for her daughter. Don't touch me. Sarah backs away. I'm done being your perfect puppet. I check my phone again. Flynn's sent over a preliminary interview schedule. Good Morning America, The Today Show. Even Forbes wants a statement. Last chance, I tell them all. Anyone want to come clean before I do it for you? The silence is deafening. Right then. I head for the stairs. I have some interviews to prepare for. Oh, and Aunt Linda, you might want to call your lawyer. The Maxwell Corporation is considering legal action for defamation. You wouldn't, she gasps. I wouldn't, I agree. But they would. Funny how karma works, isn't it? As I climb the stairs, I hear Sarah following me. I want to go on air with you, she says. Tell my side of the story. I turn to look at her. Really look at her. For the first time, I don't see my perfect cousin. I see another victim of Aunt Linda's manipulation. Okay, I say. Let's burn it all down together. Behind us, I hear Aunt Linda start to cry. But this time, her tears won't change anything. The truth is already out there, spreading like wildfire, and no amount of perfect family pretense can put it back in its box. Sometimes revenge isn't about what you do. It's about letting people's own actions speak for themselves. The makeup artist dabs powder on my face as the Good Morning America producer counts down in my earpiece. Sarah sits beside me, looking simultaneously terrified and determined. We're doing this interview from my home office. My choice. Let them all see where I built my empire. 3, 2, 1. We're here with Sienna, CEO of Sienna Inc., and her cousin Sarah, whose story of family manipulation and corporate sabotage has taken social media by storm. The host begins. Ladies, thank you for joining us. Thank you for having us, I reply smoothly. Sienna, let's start with the bombshell revelation about your aunt's interference with the Maxwell account. How did you discover this? Before I can answer, commotion erupts downstairs. Through my earpiece, I hear the producer. Keep going, we're live. The truth is, I begin, but the office door bursts open. Stop! The interview! Aunt Linda charges in, looking wild-eyed. The cameras swivel to capture her entrance. I have something to say. The host's voice crackles in my earpiece. This is ratings gold. Let her speak. You've said enough. Sarah stands. For years, you've said enough for all of us. No, Linda's voice breaks. I haven't said what matters. What's true? The cameras are rolling. Millions are watching. My phone vibrates. Flynn texting. Holy shit. Is this happening live? Go ahead, I gesture to Linda. Tell the truth. All of it. America's watching. She seems to notice the cameras for the first time. Her perfect facade cracks completely. I was jealous, she whispers. What? Sarah steps closer. Of Sienna, of her talent, her drive. Linda sinks into a chair. She was 12 years old and already more successful than I'd ever been. The host's voice comes through. Mrs. Linda, could you speak up for our viewers? I sabotaged her because I was afraid. Linda continues louder. Afraid she'd make Sarah look bad. Afraid she'd show everyone what a failure I was as a mother, as a businesswoman. The restaurant website, I prompt. Tell them about that. I paid someone to crash it. To destroy your father's business. Tears streamed down her face. I told myself it was for your own good, that you needed to learn the real world would crush you. But really, I was crushing you before the world had a chance. Sarah's hands are shaking. And me? Was my whole life just another one of your control games? I needed you to be perfect, Linda pleads, because I never was. Your father, Avery, wasn't your father's first choice for you, but he was controllable, buyable. The producer's voice is practically giddy. This is better than any script we could have written. What about my mother? I ask. Why did you really help us after Dad left? Because I knew if you had nothing, you'd need me. All of you would need me. Linda looks directly into the camera. I built my whole life around being needed, being in control, and now everyone knows the truth. I finish. My phone keeps buzzing. Flynn's rapid-fire texts. Twitter's exploding. Your company stock is soaring. People are calling you a hero. I'm sorry, Linda says. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. You're right, Sarah steps forward. It is too late for all of us. The host tries to regain control. Ladies, this is unprecedented television. Sienna, what happens now? I look at my aunt. Really, let me look at her. The powerful matriarch reduced to a crying mess on national television. The puppet master with her strings finally cut. Now, I stand up. Now Aunt Linda leaves my house. Now Sarah lives her own life. Now everyone knows exactly who built what in this family. And the company, the host prompts, your success, is exactly what she tried to prevent. I face the camera. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone, it's succeeding despite them. Cut to commercial, I hear through the earpiece. This is incredible. As the red lights on the cameras dim, Linda crumples further. What have I done? Exactly what you've always done, Sarah answers. Only this time everyone was watching. My phone rings, it's Flynn. You're trending worldwide, he says when I answer. The TED Women organisers want to move your keynote to the opening slot, and the Maxwell Corporation wants to publicly announce a partnership. Take it all, I tell him. Every offer, every interview. Sienna, my mother appears in the doorway. There's something else you need to know. About your father. The producer signals they're about to go live again. Save it, I tell her. Whatever it is, let's put it all on record. No more family secrets. The camera's red lights blink back on. Millions are watching. My aunt is crying. My cousin stands tall beside me. And I'm finally telling my story. Our story, exactly the way it happened. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's making sure everyone has to face it. Live on national television. The mountain house feels different in the evening quiet. No more shouting, no more cameras, no more revelations. Just the soft sound of snow falling outside my office window. My phone lights up. Another message from Flynn. Final viewer numbers are in. 12 million watched live. Your follower count tripled. You broke the internet. A soft knock at the door. It's Sarah, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. Thought you might need this, she says, handing me one. It's been a day. That's an understatement. I gesture to the chair across from me. How are you holding up? Better than Mum. She settles in. She's checking into a wellness centre tomorrow. Dad's handling the arrangements. And Avery? His firm asked for his resignation an hour ago. She sips her coffee. Turns out they don't like partners who steal intellectual property. Who knew? My laptop pings with a new email. The Maxwell Corporation's official partnership announcement. 7 figures. Everything I would have had years ago if Aunt Linda hadn't interfered. I enrolled in art school, Sarah says suddenly. I look up. What? Online courses starting next week. It's what I always wanted to do before... She trails off. Before Mum decided teaching was more respectable. Good for you. I mean it, Sienna. She leans forward. Thank you for burning it all down, for making me face the truth. Another knock. This time it's my mother looking uncertain in the doorway. Can I come in? She asks. There's something you both need to hear. About your father, Sienna, and about Sarah's. Sarah stiffens. What about my father? They were business partners, my mother says, sitting down heavily. Before Linda interfered, they were going to open a restaurant chain together. Until Aunt Linda crashed the website, I finish. No. My mother takes a deep breath. Until Linda told your father that Sarah's dad was embezzling funds, it wasn't true, but by the time we discovered that Dad had already left, I whisper. And my father had a breakdown, Sarah adds. I always wondered why he moved abroad so suddenly. Linda orchestrated all of it, my mother continues, to keep control, to keep us dependent on her. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a text from Yolanda. Linda's asking to see you, both of you. Should I let her up? I look at Sarah. She nods. Send her up, I text back. Aunt Linda appears minutes later, looking smaller somehow. Deflated. I saw the partnership announcement, she says. The Maxwell deal, congratulations. Is that why you're here? I ask. To congratulate me on succeeding despite you? No. She remains standing. I'm here to give you these. She pulls out a stack of papers. Old websites printouts. Business plans. Photos of 2 men, our fathers, standing proudly in front of an empty restaurant space. I kept everything, she says. Every dream I destroyed. Every relationship I poisoned. I thought I was protecting you all, making you stronger. By breaking us? Sarah's voice cracks. By controlling us, I correct. But you forgot something, Aunt Linda. You can't control people's truth forever. I know that now. She turns to leave, then pauses. The house is yours, Sienna, truly yours. Use it better than I did. After she's gone, Sarah picks up one of the photos. They looked so happy, so full of dreams. We can be too, I tell her, without her shadow hanging over us. My mother stands. I should go check on Linda, make sure she's actually going to that wellness centre. Let her go, I say. It's not our job to manage her anymore. Once we're alone again, Sarah looks around my office, at the empire I built while they thought I was just playing online. What happens now? She asks. Now? I pull up my calendar. Now I have a TED Women keynote to write. Want to help? I'm thinking of calling it How Family Sabotage Built My Empire. She laughs, really laughs, for what feels like the first time in years. I'd like that, she says. And maybe we could talk about that restaurant chain idea, update it for the digital age. A partnership? A real one this time. No puppet masters. My phone lights up one last time. Flynn again. Ready to show them what you can do without anyone holding you back. I look at Sarah, my cousin, my former enemy, maybe my future partner, at the photo of our fathers and their unfinished dreams, at the empire I built from spite and determination. Ready, I text back, because sometimes the best revenge isn't just succeeding despite them. Sometimes it's succeeding with the very people they tried to turn against you. Sometimes it's rebuilding what they broke, stronger, better, and completely on your own terms. Let's get to work, I tell Sarah. We've got some dreams to rebuild,
The text message came just as I was boarding my flight to Dad's funeral. "Don't bother coming. You're not welcome here." My brother Richard's words hit me like a physical blow, making me stumble as I reached for my seat. The elderly woman next to me asked if I was okay. I wasn't. I'm Eloise, and this wasn't the first time my family had shut me out. But being banned from my own father's funeral? That was a new low, even for them. "Miss, you need to turn off your phone now," the flight attendant said, hovering over me. I nodded numbly, but not before another message popped up from my sister Milena. "I'm so sorry, Elle. Richard and Derek made the decision. I tried to stop them." 3 years earlier, they'd done the same thing with Mom's funeral. I'd shown up anyway, ignoring their protests. The memory of that day still burns. "How dare you show your face here?" Richard had grabbed my arm in the church parking lot, his fingers digging into my flesh. "You abandoned the family when Mom needed you most." "I didn't abandon anyone," I'd shot back, yanking free. "I just chose a different path. Mom supported my decision." Derek had stepped between us, always playing peacekeeper. "This isn't the time or place. Mom wouldn't want this. Mom wouldn't want a lot of things," Richard had sneered, like her only daughter choosing her precious career over family. The plane took off, and I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. My phone burned in my pocket, filled with unanswered messages from Luke, my business partner, asking if I needed him to come with me. I'd told him no. This was something I had to face alone. But now I wouldn't be facing anything at all. The woman beside me offered a tissue. "Family troubles, dear?" I let out a bitter laugh. "You could say that. My brothers just banned me from our father's funeral." Her eyes widened. "Good Lord, whatever for?" "Because I dared to dream bigger than our family business." I wiped my eyes. I wanted to build something of my own instead of being stuck in Dad's shadow forever. "And that was enough for them too?" "They blame me for Mom's death," I said quietly. "She had cancer. They think if I'd stayed home instead of moving to New York to start my company, she might have lived longer, as if my presence could have somehow stopped stage 4 pancreatic cancer." The plane reached cruising altitude, and the drink cart started making its rounds. I ordered a whiskey, something I rarely did. My phone vibrated again the moment I turned it back on after landing. This time, it was Derek. "Elle, please understand," his message read. "Dad's last weeks were hard. He kept asking why you weren't there." I typed back furiously. "Maybe because none of you told me he was sick?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "We tried calling your office." Bullshit. My hands were shaking. "You have my cell number. You have my email. You know where I live. Don't pretend this was anything but deliberate." Another message from Milena. "They're starting the service in an hour. I can live stream it to you if you want." I stared at her message for a long time before responding. "No, they wanted me out. I'm out. But tell Richard something for me." "What?" "Tell him Dad's company won't be the only Howard legacy anymore. I'm going to build something so big, so successful, that our family name will be known for my achievements, not just Dad's." "Elle, don't do anything rash." I turned off my phone and headed to the rental car counter. I wouldn't be attending Dad's funeral, but I had somewhere else to be. My company was about to sign our biggest deal yet, and I'd be damned if I'd let my family's rejection derail that. As I drove away from the airport, Mom's last words to me echoed in my head. "Don't let them clip your wings, sweetheart. Fly as high as you can." Well, Mom, I thought, gripping the steering wheel tighter, I'm about to soar so high they'll never be able to reach me. And when they inevitably come crashing down, because with Richard and Derek's management style, they will, I'll be watching from above. Let them ban me from funerals. Let them blame me for things beyond my control. I'll show them what real power looks like, and when the time comes, they'll be the ones begging for my help. I pulled onto the highway, leaving my father's funeral behind. Ahead of me lay New York, my company, and my revenge. It would be served cold, calculated, and completely within the bounds of business law. After all, I am my father's daughter. "You're insane, Eloise," Luke said, staring at the acquisition papers on my desk. "Absolutely insane, and I love it." 5 years had passed since Dad's funeral. I'd poured every ounce of pain and rejection into building Howard Enterprises, and it had paid off spectacularly. Today, we were finalizing our 10th major acquisition. "Sign here." I pushed the papers toward him. "And our little startup officially becomes a corporate giant." Luke's pen hovered over the dotted line. "You know this makes us direct competitors with your family's company, right?" "That's the point." I smiled, remembering Richard's text from 5 years ago. "Sometimes karma needs a little push." The intercom buzzed. "Ms. Howard, your friend Willow is here." "Send her in." Willow burst through the door, waving her phone. "Have you seen the business news? Your brother Derek just gave the most desperate interview I've ever witnessed." "Pull it up on the screen," Luke said, pointing to our conference display. Derek's face filled the wall, looking older and more haggard than I remembered. The ticker below read, "Howard & Sons Manufacturing Faces Financial Crisis." "We're adapting to market changes," Derek was saying, his voice strained. "Our father built this company on traditional values, and we're committed to maintaining his vision." "That's corporate speak for we're drowning," Luke muttered. I leaned back in my chair, watching my brother squirm under the interviewer's questions about declining profits and market share. "Sources say you've lost 40% of your value in the last quarter alone." The interviewer pressed. "How do you respond?" Derek loosened his tie. "We're exploring various options to—" My phone rang. Milena's name flashed on the screen. "Should I take it?" I asked Willow. She nodded. "Time to face the music." "Eloise?" Milena's voice cracked. "We need your help." "Funny, I thought I wasn't part of the family anymore." "Please, just listen. Richard's too proud to call, but we're in trouble. Real trouble." I put the phone on speaker. "I'm watching Derek's interview right now. Doesn't look good." "It's worse than it looks. We're 3 months from bankruptcy unless something changes. The bank's threatening to call in our loans." Luke raised an eyebrow at me. We both knew this was coming. "And what exactly do you expect me to do about it?" I kept my voice neutral. "You've built an amazing company, Elle. Everyone in the industry knows it. We need your expertise, your connections. Please." I muted the phone. "What do you think?" I asked Luke and Willow. "It's what you've been waiting for," Willow said. "The perfect revenge served on a silver platter." Luke nodded. "But be careful. Family businesses are messy." I unmuted the call. "I'll think about it, but I have conditions." "Anything," Milena said quickly. "I want a meeting, all of us, including Richard." Silence on the line. "Milena? He won't like it." "Then I guess you'll have to convince him, because I won't help unless he's there, acknowledging that he needs me." "I'll make it happen," she promised. "Thank you, Elle." After hanging up, I walked to the window, looking out over the Manhattan skyline. 5 years ago, they wouldn't let me say goodbye to Dad. Now they're begging for my help. "Are you really going to help them?" Willow asked. "Oh, I'm going to do more than help them." I turned back to my friends. "I'm going to take over," Luke whistled. "Richard will never agree to that." "He won't have a choice. They're drowning, and I'm their only lifeline." I picked up the acquisition papers we'd just signed. Besides, I didn't build all this just to play nice. My phone buzzed with a text from Milena. "Meeting set for Friday." Richard agreed. "Please don't make us regret this." I showed the message to Luke and Willow. "Ready to face your demons?" Willow asked. "More than ready." I sat back at my desk, pulling up Howard and Sons financial records. Dad always said business isn't personal, but he was wrong. Sometimes it's very personal. Luke gathered his things. Want me there on Friday? No, this is family business. I smiled. For now. After they left, I stayed late, studying every detail of my family's company's decline. Each poor decision, every missed opportunity, all the outdated policies Richard had clung to. They told a story of stubborn pride and incompetence. Friday couldn't come soon enough. I had waited 5 years for this moment, building my empire piece by piece, preparing for the day they'd have no choice but to acknowledge my success. Don't let them clip your wings, Mom had said. Well, Mom, I thought, not only did I keep my wings, I learned to soar, and now I'm coming home to roost. Walking into Howard and Sons felt like stepping back in time. The same faded carpets, the same dusty photographs of Dad with various clients, even the same ancient coffee machine sputtering in the corner. Only now, everything carried an air of decay. Sandra, Dad's old secretary, did a double take when I walked in. Eloise, is that really you? Hi, Sandra, I smiled, noting the new wrinkles around her eyes. Still keeping this place running? Trying to. She lowered her voice. Your brothers are waiting in the conference room, all of them. I straightened my blazer. How bad is it really, Sandra? Bad enough that Richard's here on a Friday instead of his golf club. That said everything. The conference room fell silent when I walked in. Richard sat at Dad's old seat, of course. Derek slouched beside him, while Milena stood by the window, wringing her hands. Well, well, Richard said, not standing. Look who finally graces us with her presence. Nice to see you too, Richard. Love what you've done with the place. Very vintage. Derek cleared his throat. Can we skip the hostilities? We're here to talk business. Are we? I set my briefcase on the table. Because last time I tried to talk business with this family, I was told to stay in my lane and never come back. That was different, Richard snapped. Dad was dead, I cut in. Yes, he was, and I wasn't allowed to say goodbye. Funny how you want my help now. Milena stepped forward. Elle, please, we're trying. I pulled out my laptop. Show me the books. Derek slid a folder across the table. I flipped through pages of red ink and declining numbers, each sheet telling a story of mismanagement and stubborn adherence to outdated methods. Jesus, I muttered. When was the last time you updated your production line? Dad's methods worked fine, Richard defended. Dad's methods worked 20 years ago. The world's changed. I walked to the wall of photographs, stopping at one of Dad in front of the factory. You know what he told me once? The biggest mistake a businessman can make is thinking tomorrow will look like yesterday. Don't you dare quote Dad to me. Richard stood up. You weren't here, because you pushed me out. I spun to face him. I wanted to modernize, to expand. You wanted to play king of the castle in Dad's chair. Stop it, both of you. Milena slammed her hand on the table. This isn't helping. I took a deep breath. You're right. Let's talk solutions. I can help, but I have conditions. Here we go, Richard muttered. First, I want full control. No interference, no committees, but Dad would have arguments. Derek leaned forward. For how long? Until the company's profitable again. Could be 6 months, could be 2 years. Absolutely not. Richard stood up. I won't hand over Dad's legacy to what, Richard? Your more successful sister? The one who built a company worth 10 times this one in 5 years? Milena touched Richard's arm. We don't have a choice. The bank's meeting is next week. I continued. Second condition, I merge this company with mine. The room exploded. You can't. That's ridiculous. Listen. I raised my voice. You need my resources, my connections, my modern infrastructure. A merger is the fastest way to save this company. Richard's face turned red. This is a takeover, not help. Call it whatever you want. But without me, this company dies. Dad's legacy dies. Your choice. Derek rubbed his face. Can we have time to discuss this? You have until Monday. After that, I'm busy with my own acquisitions. I packed up my laptop, then paused at the door. Oh, and Richard, that private meeting you're planning with United Manufacturing tomorrow? Cancel it. They're filing for bankruptcy next week. His jaw dropped. How did you? I know everything happening in this industry. That's why you need me. I smiled. I'll wait for your call. Walking out, I stopped at Dad's old office. Through the glass, I could see Richard had kept it exactly the same. Same desk, same chair, same everything. But Dad's spirit of innovation, his drive to adapt and grow, that was long gone. Sandra appeared beside me. He'd be proud of you, you know. Your father. Would he? He always said you were the one most like him. Richard got his stubbornness, Derek his charm. But you? She squeezed my arm. You got his vision. I touched the glass one last time, then headed for the elevator. Behind me, I could hear my siblings arguing in the conference room. They had until Monday to swallow their pride, but I already knew what they'd choose. Pride doesn't pay the bills, and the banks don't care about family legacies. They'd call, and when they did, I'd be ready to remake this company in my image, just like I'd always dreamed. They called Sunday night, not Monday. Richard's voice was strained when he said, "We accept your terms." Now, a week later, I sat in Dad's old office, my office, reviewing files when Milena burst in without knocking. "You need to see this." She dropped a stack of papers on my desk, bank statements, invoices, transfer records, all showing irregular patterns. "Where did you find these?" I flipped through the documents, my stomach tightening. "Hidden in Richard's private files. I've been helping with the handover paperwork and—" She swallowed hard. "Someone's been cooking the books." I grabbed my phone to call Luke. "Get down here, now!" While waiting, I dug deeper into the records. Money had been systematically siphoned off through a maze of fake vendors and inflated invoices. This wasn't just mismanagement. This was fraud. Luke arrived 20 minutes later, taking one look at my face before closing the door. "What's wrong?" "Show him," I told Milena. As Luke reviewed the documents, Derek walked in. "The production team's ready for your inspection. What's going on?" "Close the door," I ordered, "and call Richard, family meeting, now." "He's at the club. Get him here." An hour later, we all sat around the conference table, the damning documents spread before us. Richard's face had turned an interesting shade of purple as Luke explained what we'd found. "These transactions," Luke pointed to a spreadsheet, "show systematic theft over the past 3 years, nearly $2 million funneled through shell companies." "That's impossible," Richard sputtered. "I review all major transactions." "Exactly," I said. "You review them, so either you're incompetent or you're involved." Derek jumped up. "Are you accusing our brother of stealing?" "I'm stating facts. Money disappeared. Richard had oversight. Do the math." Milena touched Richard's arm. "Tell them it's not true." Richard's silence filled the room like poison gas. "Holy shit," Derek whispered. "Rich." "It wasn't stealing," Richard finally said. "I was investing in new opportunities." "In your personal account?" I slammed my hand on the table. "That's called embezzlement, brother dear. You don't understand. After Dad died, we were struggling. I needed capital for side ventures to keep us afloat." "To keep your golf membership afloat, you mean?" I pulled up his personal bank statements. Country club dues, vacation homes, private school for your kids, all while the company bled out. Luke cleared his throat. "As your legal counsel, I should mention this is criminal behavior." "You wouldn't," Richard leaned forward. "I'm your brother. Watch me." I stood up. "You have 2 choices. Either resign immediately, surrender all company shares, and repay every penny, or I call the police. You can't do this, Richard's face contorted. This is my company. Not anymore. I nodded to Luke, who slid a document across the table. Resignation papers. Sign them. Derek put his head in his hands. Dad would be ashamed. Dad's dead, Richard snapped, and she's destroying everything he built. No, Milena's voice was quiet but firm. You did that yourself. Richard looked around the table, finding no allies. With shaking hands, he picked up the pen. I want your resignation letter on my desk tomorrow, I said as he signed. Cite personal reasons. Keep it clean, and we'll keep this quiet. For Dad's sake. After Richard stormed out, Derek turned to me. What now? Now? I pulled out my laptop. We rebuild, starting with a full audit and restructuring. I found something else, Milena said softly. In the old files, Dad's personal letters. She handed me a yellowed envelope. Inside was a letter dated just before his death. Dear Eloise, it began. If you're reading this, I failed to fix things between you and your siblings. I was wrong to let them push you away. Your vision for the company was right. I see that now. I hope someday you'll come back and show them a better way. Love, Dad. My hands trembled. When did you find this? This morning. Richard never sent it. Luke touched my shoulder. You okay? I folded the letter carefully. Call the executive team. I want everyone here in an hour. It's time to announce some changes. As they filed out, I walked to the window, looking out at the factory floor below. Workers moved between machines, same as they had in Dad's day. But soon, everything would change. My phone buzzed, a text from Willow. Heard about Richard. You okay? I typed back, better than okay. Finally got what I wanted. Revenge? I thought about Dad's letter, about Richard's downfall, about the company's future. No, I replied, justice, and a chance to make things right. The factory whistle blew, signaling shift change, time to face the staff and begin the new era of Howard Enterprises. Dad's legacy wasn't dead, it was just getting started. You're firing half the management team? Derek paced my office, running his hands through his hair. They've been here for decades. I'm not firing them, I corrected, reviewing the reorganization plans. I'm offering them new positions or early retirement packages. The old hierarchy doesn't work anymore. 3 months had passed since Richard's resignation. The company was undergoing massive changes, and not everyone was happy about it. My phone buzzed. Another angry email from the old guard. These dinosaurs are fighting me at every turn. They're scared, Milena said from her new desk in the corner. I'd promoted her to Chief Operations Officer, much to everyone's surprise. Turned out she had a natural talent for logistics. They should be, I muttered, then pressed the intercom. Sandra, is everyone here for the meeting? Yes, waiting in the main conference room. And Richard's here. I sat up straight. What? He's demanding to speak to the board. Derek and Milena exchanged worried looks. Let him try. I grabbed my presentation materials. The board's about to vote on my modernization plan anyway. Perfect timing. The conference room fell silent as we entered. Richard stood at the far end, wearing a rumpled suit that had seen better days. The board members sat uncomfortably between us, like children caught between fighting parents. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, but Richard cut me off. Before my sister continues dismantling our father's legacy, he announced, I have evidence of her corporate espionage. Several board members gasped. I kept my face neutral. Really, Richard? That's your play? He slapped a folder on the table. She's been stealing our clients, undermining our contracts, all while pretending to help. Those are our internal documents, Derek said, scanning the papers. How did you get these? Friends in accounting, Richard smirked. Not everyone supports this hostile takeover. I walked calmly to the presentation screen and pulled up a spreadsheet. You mean these contracts? The ones that were already failing under your leadership? I highlighted several rows. The ones where you were overcharging clients by 40% to cover your personal expenses? Richard's smirk faltered. Or perhaps, I continued, you'd like to explain to the board why our biggest client switched to my company 6 months ago? Here's their complaint file. Dozens of quality control issues, delayed shipments, inflated invoices. You're destroying everything Dad built, Richard shouted. No, I'm saving it. I slammed my hands on the table. Look around. The factory floor hasn't been updated in 20 years. Our competitors are using AI and automation while we're still doing manual inventory. Half our workforce is approaching retirement with no succession plan. Milena stepped forward. I have the employee satisfaction surveys from last month. She distributed papers to the board. 85% support Eloise's changes. Morale is up, efficiency is up, and for the first time in 5 years, we're actually hiring instead of laying people off. The numbers don't lie, I pointed to the screen. Third quarter projections show a 60% increase in productivity. We've secured 3 major contracts since implementing the new systems. One of the board members cleared his throat. These results are impressive, but change at this pace is risky. You know what's riskier? Derek surprised everyone by speaking up. Staying the same while the world moves forward. I watched my brother nearly bankrupt us trying to preserve the past. I won't make that mistake again. Richard lunged for the presentation remote. Let me show you what she's really doing. Security, I called out. 2 guards appeared at the door. Please escort my brother out. He's no longer authorized to be on premises. As they led him away, he shouted, This isn't over, Eloise. Actually, it is. I turned to the board. Now, shall we vote on the modernization plan? The vote passed unanimously. Later that evening, I found Milena in Dad's old archive room, sorting through files. Found something interesting, she said, holding up a dusty blueprint. Dad's original designs for the factory included an automated assembly line. He never implemented it because the old guard threatened to quit. I studied the yellowed paper. He was ahead of his time. Like father, like daughter. She smiled. Though I doubt he would have handled Richard quite so ruthlessly. Speaking of Richard, Derek appeared in the doorway. Just heard from his wife. He's checking into rehab. Apparently, he's been struggling since the resignation. A twinge of guilt hit me. Get him the best care. Company's health insurance still covers him. Already done. Derek hesitated. You know, I didn't see it before, but you really are Dad's daughter. He would have been proud of today. I touched Dad's blueprint gently. We're not done yet. Tomorrow we start phase 2, retooling the production line. The old guard will hate that, Milena laughed. Good thing I'm not here to be liked. I rolled up the blueprint. I'm here to build something that lasts. Outside, the factory lights blazed against the darkening sky, illuminating the new Howard Enterprises logo. Change was coming, whether they liked it or not. Someone's sabotaging the new equipment. Luke dropped a security report on my desk. 3rd incident this month. I rubbed my temples, staring at the photos of damaged machinery. 6 months into the modernization, and we'd hit a wall of resistance I hadn't expected. Production's down 30%, Milena added, pulling up the latest numbers. The workers are scared. Someone's spreading rumors that the automation will replace them all. My phone buzzed. Derek calling from the factory floor. You need to get down here, now. The manufacturing floor was chaos. Workers clustered in groups. Machinery sat idle, and in the center of it all stood Marcus, our longest-serving foreman, holding what looked like internal memos. These documents prove it, he shouted as I approached. She's planning to fire everyone over 50. Replace us with machines and kids fresh out of college. Those documents are fake, I said loudly, making heads turn. Where did you get them? Marcus's face reddened. Found them in the break room. Really? Because they have Richard's old letterhead. I stepped closer. When did my brother contact you, Marcus? The crowd murmured. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Everyone in the conference room, I announced. Now. 10 minutes later, I faced my workforce. Decades of experience sat before me, generations of families who'd built their lives around this company. Their fear was real, even if the documents weren't. Let me be clear, I began. No one is getting fired. The automation isn't replacing you, it's supporting you. That's not what we heard, someone called out. I know there are rumors. I know change is scary. But look at these. I projected photos on the screen. This is what our competitors' factories look like. This is what we're up against. The images showed sleek, modern facilities. Our main competitor had tripled their output last quarter. But here's what they don't have. I switched to our employee records. 250 years of combined experience in this room. Knowledge that no machine can replace. Derek stepped forward. The automation handles the dangerous, repetitive tasks. You'll be trained for specialized roles. Higher pay, better conditions. Prove it, Marcus challenged. I pulled up the new salary structure. Average wage increase of 40% after training, full benefits, college tuition support for your kids, and a profit-sharing program. The room grew quiet. But first, I continued, I need to know who's been sabotaging our equipment, because every broken machine costs jobs. Every delayed order pushes us closer to what Richard almost achieved, bankruptcy. Milena distributed new contracts. These guarantee your positions through the transition and beyond, but we need your help identifying the saboteur. A young worker stood up. It's Marcus. He's been meeting with Mr. Richard at Joey's bar every week. I saw them. Marcus lunged for the worker, but security intercepted him. Is this true? I asked. Richard said you'd destroy everything. Marcus spat. Said we needed to stop you before. Before what? Before I could save the company? I walked to him. You've worked here 30 years, Marcus. Did I ever lie to you? He looked away. Check his locker, someone called out. Security found tools matching the damage patterns and more fake documents. I'm not pressing charges, I told Marcus as security led him out. But you're done here, and tell my brother if he tries to interfere again, our agreement about keeping his embezzlement quiet is void. After the drama, I addressed the remaining workers. Anyone else want to leave? Doors open, but if you stay, I need your full commitment. We do this together, or not at all. No one moved. Good. I pointed to the new equipment. Training starts tomorrow. Show me what you can do with the right tools. Later, in my office, Luke reviewed the incident reports. Think Richard will back off now? He has to. He's broke, in rehab, and one phone call away from criminal charges. I signed Marcus's termination papers. But I'm more worried about the old guard's loyalty. Today might have fixed that, Derek said. Nothing builds trust like showing your cards openly. Milena entered with the afternoon production numbers. Teams are already back at work. And look, efficiency's up 15% since this morning. Sometimes you need a crisis to clear the air, Luke observed. My phone buzzed. A text from Richard's wife. He's doing better. Asked about the company today. Said maybe you were right about the changes. Speaking of changes, Derek pointed out the window. The factory floor had transformed. Workers who'd been clustered in angry groups that morning were now gathered around the new machines, learning, asking questions. The fear was giving way to curiosity. Dad used to say, Milena smiled, that the hardest part of leadership is bringing people along with you. I watched my father's workforce embrace the future he'd once dreamed of. We're not just bringing them along, we're bringing them up. The factory hummed with new energy, but something still felt off, like we were missing a piece of the puzzle. I just hoped we'd find it before the next crisis hit. The annual shareholders meeting was in full swing when Richard walked in. 8 months sober looked good on him. Clear eyes, pressed suit, steady hands. The room fell silent as he made his way to the front. "Please continue, Eloise," he said quietly, taking a seat in the back row. I gripped the podium tighter. As I was saying, our third quarter results exceeded all projections. The modernization program is a lie, a voice shouted from the crowd. Thomas, our former head of accounting, stood up. "I have proof that these numbers are manipulated." "Here we go again." "Thomas," I sighed, "we've been through this. The audit committee. The audit committee is in your pocket." He turned to the shareholders. "Just like her brother was cooking the books, she's inflating the success of her precious automation program." Richard stood up. "That's not true." Everyone turned to stare at him. "The numbers are real," he continued. "I've seen the raw data, the factory output, the client contracts." He walked to the front. "My sister isn't destroying our father's legacy. She's building on it." Thomas sputtered. "But you said, at the club, you told us to fight her changes." "I was wrong." Richard faced the crowd. "I was bitter, drunk, and wrong. This company was dying under my leadership. Eloise saved it." I felt tears threatening but forced them back. "Richard, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." He pulled out a folder. "I came here today to return these, my remaining shares in the company. They should go to someone who knows what to do with them." Thomas wasn't finished. "You're all blind." She pushed out loyal employees, brought in her fancy consultants. "You mean the loyal employees who were sabotaging equipment?" Milena stood up. "Or the ones taking kickbacks from suppliers." Derek joined in. "The company's profit margin has doubled. Employee satisfaction is at an all-time high. Those are facts, Thomas, not manipulation." "The truth is," Richard addressed the shareholders, "I nearly destroyed everything our father built because I was too proud to admit the world had changed. My sister had the vision I lacked." Thomas stormed toward the podium. "This is all a setup." Security moved to intercept him, but Richard got there first, blocking his path. "Enough, Thomas. It's over." Richard's voice was firm. "Go home before you embarrass yourself further." As security escorted Thomas out, I turned to the shareholders. "Any other questions about the numbers?" The room remained silent. "Then let's vote on the expansion proposal." The vote was unanimous in favor. As people filed out, Richard lingered. "That couldn't have been easy," I said. "Sobriety has a way of clearing your vision." He smiled sadly. "I found Dad's old journals during rehab. He wrote about you, you know. Said you reminded him of himself at your age. Always pushing boundaries, seeing possibilities others missed." "Richard, let me finish. I was wrong about everything. The company, Dad's legacy, you." He handed me the folder with his shares. "These belong to you now. Use them better than I did." Derek and Milena joined us. For the first time in years, all 4 Howard siblings stood together without tension. "I have a proposal," I said. "The expansion plans include a new research and development division. We need someone to run it, someone who knows the old systems but isn't afraid to experiment." Richard's eyes widened. "Are you offering a chance to be part of the future instead of clinging to the past? Interested? You'd trust me after everything?" "Trust is earned," Derek said, "like forgiveness." Milena hugged Richard. "Welcome back, brother." Later that evening, we gathered in Dad's old office, now a modern conference room, but with his photos still on the walls. "Remember when we were kids?" Milena said, "and Dad would let us play office in here?" You always wanted to be the boss. Derek laughed. Look how that turned out, Richard added, but without bitterness. I touched Dad's picture. He'd be proud of us. All of us. Even me? Richard asked quietly. Especially you, I said. It takes courage to admit you're wrong. To change. My phone buzzed. Luke with the final shareholder tallies. Support for the expansion was even higher than expected. So, what's next? Derek asked. I smiled. Now we build something extraordinary. Together. The setting sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the office. Outside, the factory hummed with new life, old and new, working in harmony. To Dad, Richard raised his water glass, and to the future. We clinked glasses, 4 siblings united again, stronger for having been broken. The company wasn't just surviving anymore, it was thriving. And so were we. Ready for this? Luke asked, straightening my blazer as cameras set up in the factory's main hall. Born ready. I checked my notes one last time. The Wall Street Journal reporter waited patiently while her photographer adjusted lighting. Today was more than just another press interview. Today we unveiled the complete transformation of Howard Enterprises, with all 4 siblings presenting together for the first time. Richard approached, tablet in hand. R&D numbers just came in. The new sustainable manufacturing process is exceeding expectations. Of course it is, Derek called from the prototype display. It's your design. The factory floor behind us hummed with activity. Workers moved confidently between state-of-the-art machines, many of them the same employees who'd once resisted change. Now they were leading training sessions for our newest hires. Ms. Howard, the reporter began, your family company has become the industry leader in sustainable manufacturing. What sparked this transformation? Actually, I gestured to my siblings. This is a family story more than a business one. Milena joined us, bringing coffee. Tell her about Dad's blueprint. Our father had a vision, I explained, of a factory that balanced tradition with innovation. We found his original designs in the archives. Automated systems, sustainable practices, everything we've implemented now. He was decades ahead of his time. But you faced significant resistance, the reporter noted, including from within your own family. Richard stepped forward. I was the biggest obstacle. Fear of change nearly destroyed us. But sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to build upon it, not preserve it in amber. The real story, Derek added, is how this company brought our family back together. Sandra appeared with an urgent message. The government contract team is here early. I'll handle it, Milena said, ever the operations master. The reporter watched her go. Your executive team is unusually diverse. Talent doesn't follow traditional patterns, I replied. Neither should leadership. A commotion near the main entrance drew our attention. A group of workers was gathering, phones raised. What's happening? I asked. Richard checked his tablet and broke into a grin. Stock just hit an all-time high. The sustainable manufacturing announcement leaked. The reporter's photographer captured the spontaneous celebration as it spread across the factory floor. Decades-long employees hugged recent hires. The profit-sharing program meant everyone was celebrating. Remember when they were ready to riot over the changes? Derek murmured. Now look, Richard said proudly. They're leading the industry in adaptation rates. Luke appeared with more news. Tokyo office just called. They want to license our sustainable manufacturing process. Tell them to wait for the official announcement, I said, then turned back to the reporter. Where were we? I was about to ask about your father. Do you think he'd recognize the company today? I looked around at our transformed factory, at Richard explaining new processes to veteran workers, at Derek managing global logistics on his tablet, at Milena expertly handling government contracts. He'd recognize what matters, I said, family, innovation, progress. The rest is just details. The reporter's final question caught me off guard. Any regrets about how it all played out? I thought about the painful years of exile, Richard's breakdown and recovery, the fights and reconciliation, the sabotage and triumph. The path wasn't straight, I admitted, but every step led here. After the interview, my siblings and I gathered in the break room, away from the cameras. Dad's birthday is tomorrow, Milena said softly. Richard pulled out an old photo. Dad in front of the original factory. First time in years we can visit him together. He'd love what we've built, Derek said. Not just the business, this, us. My phone buzzed. Willow sending congratulations on the stock price. But another message followed. Thomas had been hired by our main competitor. Problem? Luke asked, noting my expression. Nothing we can't handle. I showed my siblings the message. Together. Richard laughed. Let him try. We're not the same company he knew. We're not the same family either, Milena added. Through the break room window, I watched our father's factory, now our factory, buzzing with renewed purpose. Workers who'd once feared automation now led innovation teams. Family members who'd once fought now built something greater than our individual ambitions. To Dad, Richard raised his coffee cup, who taught us that the greatest legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you build forward. We finished together, an old family saying taking on new meaning. Outside, the afternoon sun caught the new Howard Enterprises logo, making it shine like a beacon. Below it, Dad's original motto remained, building tomorrow today. We'd done exactly that, not just with machines and processes, but with trust, forgiveness, and family bonds stronger than steel. The future was bright, and we were ready for it, together.